try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm, calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth. We'll risk it all. My
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Friday Night Lies. Sorry for the delay. It appears that we were spinned out, which is very interesting. I don't know if it's our topics that we're discussing tonight that have spinned us out. If that's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, so be it, because wow, there's a lot going on right now in the entire realm of Canton, Massachusetts State Police, and the death investigation of John O'Keefe. Welcome back. Glad to have you. We were on a break for the holidays, and I certainly hope that that you had a good holiday. I hope that whatever you did with your family, your friends, neighbors, everybody in your world, that it was as good as it could be. Sometimes holidays can be rough. A lot of people dread them because they're missing their loved ones that maybe they lost their life in the last couple of years, or you are missing them because it's just one of those years where you miss people extra hard. Holidays can be joyous and wonderful, but they can also be very difficult and depressing for many. So we always have to be conscious of that and do our best to spread as much joy and peace and light as we can. So I hope you found some of that this Christmas, Hanukkah season, whatever you practice for your faith, however you find the holiday. I hope you found it. So I watched a lot of football and I took a big break from true crime, my world of true crime, which is the victims that I have permission to advocate for from their families, and several others that are high media profile that I didn't always get a hold of the families, but they were made aware that I was advocating for them. So we needed to break. It was a lot. A lot of our cases were stalled. The families were depressed, frustrated. We moved on some cases, and then we got led up a false ladder, and then the ladder was pulled out from under us. So kind of like Jack and the Beanstalk, we were climbing the beanstalk on some of the cases I'm working on and thought we were making progress, and then the detectives, or the powers that be above the detectives, pulled that beanstalk right down. So we have to start over in some of the cases I'm working on, as far as continuing to push for the cases to either be reopened if they're closed, or if they're cold, just pushing for more law enforcement investigations. So it was a long fall for a lot of our victims and their families. Those that are passed, obviously, they're at a better place, but they shouldn't be there yet. Their lives were cut short by the hands of someone else. So that's what we do here at Social Change Warriors. Welcome back. We are justice seekers. We are advocates for those that are no longer living, for their families, because their families are not happy with the conclusion of the case. However, it was either solved in the eyes of law enforcement, but not in the eyes of the family, like the Munzenberger case out of Milwaukee, or it was not solved and it's cold, or in the case of John O'Keefe, they rushed to judgment, arrested the wrong person. It was two long trials over the course of a year and a half. And now many of us obviously do not feel there's any justice for John O'Keefe, which is what our primary focus on Friday Night Lies has been. Wednesdays and Thursdays, we focus on all the other victims and their families that we're advocating for. Fridays has been sheer focus on the corruption in Canton, Massachusetts, and in the Massachusetts state as a whole. And many of you have asked me, why did I get invested in this? Why was I interested in this case? Since I do not live in Massachusetts, my two homes are Florida and Wisconsin, and a little bit of California when I had out there. I lived out there for a few years in LA. So many people ask me, why this case? Why John O'Keefe? Why Karen Reed? Well, I think most of you know that answer, because the why is a very important concept when we talk about who, what, where, when, why, how. And in a lot of the cases that I've been advocating for, Ellen Greenberg, Sandra Birchmore, John O'Keefe, Mallory Munzenberger and her dear son, Major Harris, we ask who, and we figure that out relatively quickly. We sort of get the when and the how and the where, but the why sometimes is never answered for the families. And that is the bitter pill they have to swallow every day. They don't get answers to the why. And we still don't really know the answer to the why, as to why is John O'Keefe deceased. We don't know for sure. We have our theories. We have our theories based on evidence. We have our theories based on two trials that experts basically confirmed some of the theories that we had and that law enforcement had or didn't have or should have had, right? So we went through 2 trials of that. So the advocates for John O'Keefe and those that are still supporting Karen Reed as she fights this civil suit that she's in now don't believe he has any justice. And I don't either. I don't believe he has any justice. So we had a warrior on with us, a journalism warrior in December, and that is Grant Smith Ellis. And so I'm hoping that he was able to get up onto the platform. We're going to give him a couple minutes to join us. And I'm going to bring him up on stage with me because we had a really amazing, interesting talk together in December before he went to study for his bar exam. And I went off on my month-long hiatus for Christmas and for rest and respite from advocating. So welcome back, everyone. We will be returning on select Fridays, whether it be this new time, 5-ish, 5:15 when we have guests, or we do our nighttime one at 7 or 8 at night Eastern time. And I don't know if it'll be every week or it'll just be whenever there's something important that I want to share with you, that I want to give you my opinion on, or that I have a guest that wants to give you their opinion. So we might not necessarily be here every Friday night, but we will be here as often as we need to be to continue to advocate for justice for John O'Keefe. So welcome back, everyone. Hi, I'm Kat. Great to see you back. Welcome back, Kathy. Welcome back to all of our wonderful subscribers. Thank you for keeping us in the thousands on YouTube. I really appreciate it. We're not monetized, so there's no monetary value involved in that number. It's just a number for advocacy. The more people that watch our channel, that share our channel out, the more people know about the victims and their families that we're fighting for justice for and helping them to get closure, because sometimes there is no justice on this earth. Sometimes justice comes from up above. And something, before I bring Grant up, I just want to say there's a case that I've been active in way before I became a YouTube content creator and a live streamer, and that is the case of Ellen Greenberg. I just want to quickly bring up a picture of Ellen before we bring Grant up and get into everything John O'Keefe and all of the craziness that has spun out of control since we last met. It's beyond the pale. I mean, I don't know what else to say, and Grant will enlighten us here soon because he's done a ton of amazing journalistic work, but it is beyond the pale what is now going on in the Karen Reed case. You just can't make this shit up, as they say. Sorry to swear. I try not to swear too much on our channel, but sometimes swear words are all that really are appropriate for a lot of the shenanigans, criminality, laws that are being broken behind the scenes, people thinking that they're private detectives, people becoming private detectives who once worked for bloggers who were bloggers and became journalists and live streamers, and witnesses who are grand jury witnesses and witnesses in 2 trials. Some of them, not all of them were in both trials, were working behind the scenes as what they consider themselves detectives. So this is getting crazier by the minute. Didn't think the death of John O'Keefe could get any more insane, but it really, truly has. So I'm going to bring Grant up any second here. I just wanted to bring up a photo of Ellen Greenberg because I have been on an advocacy team with her on social media, and have spoken with many, have emailed with her family and with others that have been heavily involved, and talk about not giving up. This is a group of people that truly believe that Ellen Greenberg was framed for her own unaliving, for her own body leaving this earth, her soul leaving this earth, and not of her own accord. She was stabbed over 20 times. Originally, they reported 20, but when the new ME that is now in place in Pennsylvania was ordered to take another look at the autopsy results and findings, they actually found more than 20 and more bruising that was in various degrees of healing than the first ME, who changed his mind. He ruled it a homicide in the beginning, back in 2011 in January when Ellen was unalived. And then a few months later, he was called into a secret meeting of sorts, as we are told by people that are in the know in the case. And maybe it wasn't a secret meeting, but it wasn't a meeting the family was told about. It wasn't a meeting that was publicized or anything that was given to the media for any kind of press release. And he mysteriously changed his opinion on his original exam after the police basically pushed him and said, we don't believe this was a homicide. We are the police and we don't believe, but you're just the lowly medical examiner who knows damage to a body and who knows how to tell us what the cause of death is and what the manner of death is. But we think better. So we need you to change that. So they changed her manner of death out of the blue in March, several months after she had already been found deceased and her family had buried her. And it was changed to an unaliving of herself. 20 plus stab wounds, bruises all over her body in various degrees of healing. The apartment was cleaned as clean can be the day after Ellen's body was found unalived in her apartment. This is a very emotional, very scary homicide case, in my opinion, because it has all levels of corruption, not just a few, but many, many, which makes it very scary because people that are doing this type of corruption are very dangerous people, and they will do anything to protect themselves and their lies. Is it a white lie? Is it a dark, dark lie? Are there multiple lies? We all have different ways of describing when we lie. Right? Oh, I just told a white lie. So that's okay, because it's just what's tagged as a white lie, opposed to what? A full-blown lie? So there's so many lies wrapped up in the Ellen Greenberg case. It's utterly, utterly disgusting. So we have been told this week that now the federal government, the FBI, is looking into corruption, into the investigations. I say non-investigations because they never did any investigations, but there was corruption there. Any of us that have followed this case through the years since 2011 know and believe that nothing else makes sense. Nothing else makes sense for this beautiful woman, Ellen Greenberg, a school teacher, to not be with her parents who have fought and fought for her and tried to get her case reopened, and even went so far as to sue the city of Philadelphia. So I do have live streams in my library. If you would like to know more about Ellen Greenberg, the life and death of Ellen Greenberg, and the terrible fight that her parents have had to go through since 2011, please go to Social Change Warriors on YouTube, scroll down through our library, and you'll see our live streams. I will also be doing more of an overview. Now that we have some type of FBI involvement, I'll do a brief review of what this case is about, because several of you wrote to me on the Twitter today. Thank you, the Twitter X, or the Twit Twat, as Turtle Boy and his followers like to call it, asking me what the heck, I've never heard of this case. So that's because it's an old case. It's literally closed. It wasn't even cold all these years. It was closed because they criminally ruled it an unaliving of herself. So I will do a review of Ellen Greenberg and the case. It's dark, it's scary, it's twisted, and we'll see what happens now with the FBI involved. So rest in peace, dear Ellen. Sorry about the dogs. They're barking something outside. They'll be quiet now. She deserves better. Her parents deserve better. Everybody that lives in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania deserves better, because this could happen to any of our loved ones. Ellen could have been my daughter. She could have been your daughter, your sister, your relative. So we must stand up and fight for Ellen Greenberg. Please check out my lives when you get a chance, and I will have a new one coming up in the next 2 weeks. Thank you. Let me bring Grant Smith Ellis up with me today. I'm happy to have him back. He's an amazing journalist out of the Canton, Massachusetts area, and we met via the John O'Keefe Karen Reed case trials, obviously, and I'm happy to have him back. Welcome back, Grant.
Hello, how are you doing? I am thrilled to be here. We have exactly 1 hour and 16 minutes until Karen's fundraiser starts. So we are going to cover, we didn't even know that this was going to be a discussion about what just came out in the last hour. So we have a lot to talk about the Ellen Greenberg developments. Of course, as soon as I saw that, I said to myself, wait a minute, I think I just heard Kat talking about this like a month and a half ago. This is on my radar. Oh, they're doing a federal investigation and Shapiro's in their crosshairs. Like, oh, Kat was previewing that. Okay, so that was very great. Thank you for that refresher.
You're welcome, and thank you for thinking of me. I've been close to this case since 2011, and it's just been heart-wrenching to follow along with all of the constant denials and ignoring of Ellen and the media. But finally, Nancy Grace stepped up, and Brian Enton stepped up and did some amazing interviews a couple of years ago that I put on a couple of my live streams. So it's finally, Joel Surviving the Survivor has followed this case and has a lot of live streams on it. Gavin Fish, also wonderful live streamer, great coverage of Ellen Greenberg, and all of these people that are very versed in what they do and are solid professionals in the field of live streaming or journalism, or they all believe that she was unalived by the hands of someone else.
And this is such a telling indication and a preview, I think, of some of the developments we'll talk about, which is we all have so much faith in the investigatory process, which is fine. I am a huge supporter of law enforcement and the rule of law, or I wouldn't do this. If I just thought everything was corrupt, I would be like, there's no point. Right. It's pointing out the examples and how they run amok and how the system gets corrupted that allows us to fix it. So that ties exactly into, you were talking about, that was 2011. It is 2016. Now the FBI is doing something.
I know. That's what I mean. It makes you mad, and it makes you not want to fight, because it makes you feel like no matter what you do, it'll be forever and ever. And you may not even be here when a case that you've been following for 20 or 30 years finally gets some action or movement. And why does it take so long? And Grant, we know that there's the chain of command. I was a police officer. I understand the chain of command. Law enforcement understands it. Military, fire, EMS, nurses, doctors, we all understand the chain of command because you're holding someone's life in your hand potentially. But why does the chain of command move so slowly in some cases versus others? That is what is so frustrating.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's every chain of command is only as good as its weakest link. So true. A chain of command doesn't mean anything if the people at the very, very, very top shortcut it. And that's what we find. It's like the powers that lie beneath. Everyone thinks like the president is the decision maker. Yeah, President Trump, I promise you, makes 95% of the most important decisions. But like his PDB, the Presidential Daily Brief, is filled with different pieces of advice because different people are in power. When you run into one of those people, their kids, their brother, their nephew, their uncle, you think they're going to flex it? No, they're going to be like, bro, you fucked with the wrong person. Now you're going to learn. And that's what we're about to talk about tonight. We have developments in the Boston Herald this morning from Howie Carr confirming the reporting that I broke first in November of 2025 about the PI Marty Kraft losing his license over very serious situation with a gun and things like that, and alcohol.
and a lot, right, Grant? I mean, Marty Kraft is kind of a disgraced. For people that don't know, Marty Kraft is a disgraced Boston police officer. He knows everybody in the chain in the Boston PD.
And then he opened up a PI firm, and the reports are that. Oh, and I'm so happy to see Sherry D and so many other friends in the chat. Yes. The reports Welcome back, Sherry D. That in February of 2022, Jen McCabe wanted to know who was visiting Karen Reed's home. And that's weird. First of all, why would Jen McCabe be a detective on her own case, right, where she's a witness? Exactly. Then the discovery comes out because someone releases it on social media, unredacted, who shall remain nameless. This person releases unredacted discovery showing that there were text messages between Matt McCabe, Jen McCabe, and Kerry Roberts where they referred to themselves as detectives and talked about whether Sandra Bullock would play Kerry Roberts in a movie 3 days after John's death.
I know. And I can't even believe it. Like, I can't believe it. I mean, there's so many things about the death of John O'Keefe and this bogus investigation. They called it an investigation. They did no investigation. An investigation takes long time unless there's clear cut audio visual evidence or the suspect confesses, an investigation is not just a day. You don't get to just solve a case in a day. It doesn't ever work that way for the police. Most of the time it's weeks, months, and in cases like I have here in Florida right now, years. Ellen Greenberg, 2011, and everyone's been screaming and yelling that it wasn't an unaliving of herself. So how is it that Michael Proctor can be so cavalier in thinking that we're going to believe that the death of John O'Keefe, that had no witnesses, even though they call them the house witnesses, they saw zip, have no witnesses, no audio, no doorbell rings, no visual, no confessions, that is just going to happen in a day? He's going to solve a case in a day?
But let's jump forward to why, and let's tie it all together. Why is Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts sending messages to their victims advocate, Steve Nelson, that were also revealed on social media? They shouldn't have been. They're protected discovery. But once they're out there, what are you going to do? So why were they texting their victims advocate, who was then giving them like privileged grand jury information, not status updates, like who was like privileged information, and then saying that Carrie and Jen were his favorite detectives? Okay, so Marty Kraft's PI firm, right, is brought up initially in 2022, and there's a connection to Jen McCabe. Okay, that's weird, right? Well, let's jump forward to 2023 when Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney, gets involved with Karen's case, helping Karen. I don't know if Aiden really realized. I don't know if Karen realized what she was getting into, because wait till you hear how this story ends. I thought it was the mob. It was the damn mob. It's so much worse. All right. So in any event, Aiden starts covering Karen's case. And then all of a sudden, Marty Kraft hires Kate fucking Peta, as we call her around here, the modern Bucky Dent.
Question for Marty Kraft to hire Kate Peter, and I'm full aware of this because I worked as a private detective for a while in Colorado after I left law enforcement. You have to literally understudy with a licensed private investigator, and every state has its own rules as to how long that has to be and tests that you have to take and pass. You don't get to just go and say, I want to be a PI.
Unless you were a former cop. That's so in Massachusetts, it might be different in Colorado. We have two different ways to qualify. You can be former law enforcement and get a PI. But you can also do what you're talking about, which is a period of understudy with a PI. Kate was just logged in. We have the primary source evidence on Twitter, just logged in to Marty Kraft's investigative dashboard, logged in to his PI software. Now that's in the fall of 2023. Now wait till you hear about this. Yuri Buchanan in September of 2023 writes a report where Kate Peter gives him information on, quote, the John O'Keefe MV motor vehicle homicide. That was never turned over to Karen's defense. How do I know this? Because I wrote a post and David Yannetti reposted it. The post where I said,
I saw that.
Now, we eventually get this document in discovery through the Kearney case or something. It's posted on the docket. Dee Dee or Kyle Sharkey, the wonderful team, Docket Rocket Stars, who post everything, posted it. November of 2025, they finally disclose it. Never given to Karen. Never, ever. Not the first trial, not the second trial. It gets worse. February 14, 2024, Kate fucking Peta, sends an email to Ken Mello describing in depth how Mello should keep Aiden in jail on dangerousness while his bail was revoked from December 26th through February 23rd of 2024, December 26th, 2023 through February 23rd, 2024. On February 14th, Kate's emailing Mello being like, Ken, here, like Jen McCabe or someone was telling me to email you. She thinks Aiden's going to get out of jail. Here's how to keep him in jail. He's got millions of dollars. Like he's like a flight risk. He's going to go to like Mexico or something. She's just saying shit. Writing the legal argument for Ken Mello. Now, why is this a big deal? Because in November of 2025, through an affidavit from Robert Cosgrove, we come to find out that Cosgrove, between October actually of 2024 and July of 2025, spent 10 months going through 5,000 pages of Kate Peters' emails to Ken Mello and Brian Tully. Now, on July 8th, 2025, Ken Mello, Robert Cosgrove, after redacting all those 5,000 pages, turns them over to Mr. Betterow, Aiden's lawyer. 4,000 pages are blank. So 3 weeks later, Mr. Cosgrove's like, I had to go through them all again, Mr. Betterow. I made sure this time they're all there. Everything's readable. Here's 5,000 pages of documents. No. Jump forward to November of 2025. Oh, no, we lost her. I'll continue. Jump forward to November of 2025, and we find out that discovery was hidden. It was not turned over. The February 14th Kate Peter email was not turned over to Turtle Boy's defense. Hello, Trey. Now, I don't know if I'm just here by myself. That's fine. But my point is, oh, she's back. Okay, listen. So I have to tell you what I was saying was, so I'll refresh, the viewers heard it. In Discovery, in November of 2025, finally, after turning over 5,000 pages, Robert Cosgrove's like, wait, I found this February 14th email. Do you think he just found it on his own in good faith? Oh, no. Lindsay Gattani released that email. That is the only reason that Robert Cosgrove turned it over. And you may be saying to yourself, well, Grant, okay, so you seem to be establishing this pattern of the Norfolk DA's office basically hiding discovery from Karen and Aiden by using Marty Kraft's PI firm, Jen McCabe, Kate Peter, et cetera, et cetera. Why do you think that this has any material relevance to the DOJ investigation of Sandra Birchmore's death, the cover-up by Brian Tully's unit, or the obstruction trap set for Jen McCabe and Michael Proctor? I'll tell you why. Because on November 28, 2023, at 6:42 p.m. Eastern, to be specific, 1842 in military time, Aidan Carney texted Lindsay Gattani and said that Josh Levy had a meeting with Karen Reed and her legal team where, quote, Josh Levy said, please make sure you turn over all the discovery you give to us, you are given by the Norfolk DA, especially by Jen McCabe, and we want to see if that's different than our federal records. Why would they do that?
Right.
Because they were setting an obstruction trap. Karen Reed was a cooperating federal witness from the beginning. And that's why David Yannetti's case file was under a rolling federal subpoena. That's why Adam Deutsch was working with Karen. That's why Josh Levy was.
So many people, including yourself, had been thinking that, had been starting to kind of see all the little I's and T's, and everything that wasn't making sense before was slowly starting to roll out, even before Lindsay started sharing as much.
But that's what allowed. I don't want people to misunderstand. Without Lindsay, and I think Kate was manipulating her as well, and Tully and them, but without Lindsay being able to put it together, without all the different people, with Turtle Boy, with Karen, with all these different people's experience, came the mosaic. Right. But what put it together for me? Proctor's phone. When Proctor, if you remember, we hear some about his text messages, but then in July of 2025, he tells the Miles King judge, I got rid of my old phone in November of 2024. My new phone auto deletes every 30 days. And then 3 months later, right as Adam Deutsch resigns from the DOJ, 12 or 13 years of Michael Proctor's phone records get dropped, where he used an SA victim's name unredacted, shared intimate photos, said racist slurs, drops his appeal.
He did, Grant, because none of us are stupid, except for people that just don't want to see the forest to the trees, because they're either related to the Alberts and the McCabe's and Higgins and on, and the police officers. Because if you can't see the forest through the trees, then you miss all of these nuances that you never missed, that started to come out slowly, that most of us were like, wait a minute, constantly, this doesn't make sense. That's why I have this up here tonight, that nothing in this case ever made any sense, including this issue with the crazy testimony with Higgins' Jeep and the teenagers pulling up behind Karen Reed and seeing her alone in the car with the dome light on, and so many things in this case. You could go back to the second the police arrived, and John Como Dixie has been doing a great job this week and boozy beauty of putting up long text threads explaining how now if you really, it was so overwhelming when we're watching the first trial. All this information is just being put out there at us, and we're hearing the witnesses, so-called witnesses, with their testimony, and we're getting times, and this is this time and that time and 6:34 and 6:40, and it was a lot for a lot of our brains to just take in. Now that we've had all this time, and after the second trial, it's people are going back. The warriors on Twitter X, the social media warriors who don't necessarily have a live stream, who don't like to get up here and talk, they like to write, and they have been reminding us how a lot of the inconsistencies that we've been taking in here and talking about here on Friday Night Lives are out there. And it's proven now that none of these little stories that all these witnesses were spewing at us about what they saw out the window and what they didn't see make any sense at all. But don't miss the forest through the trees. Karen knew that. Karen's brilliant. If you listen to her, she's brilliant. She was talking about Sandra Birchmore 2022. She was like, I thought they were going to hang me from a door. Why? Because she's brilliant. So let me put this all together for you. But she couldn't tell us. And remember, Grant, when she would give us, she would give us little hints, and she'd say,
no, you're going to get it. Yes, Karen would do it. And I know where you're going. So I think you and I are talking the language. Let's just be explicit. An obstruction trap. I know what an obstruction trap is. I take it for granted. Let's talk it through in a hypothetical. An obstruction trap would be something like you as a law enforcement officer or a prosecutor think a witness for the other side. Let's say a defense witness is going to lie. You know they're going to lie because you got a subpoena for all their records. But you're like, just let them go up on the stand. Now, a normal obstruction trap would be so you could impeach them and be like, hey, I know you lied. That's not what the DOJ did here with Karen. They were like, Karen, just let him lie. On some stuff, like some stuff, call him on it, but like let him lie, and then let him lie in the Miles King case. Don't even let him know that we have his phone proctored. Don't even let him know, Karen. Why? Right. Because those are RICO predicate offenses. Obstruction of justice is a RICO predicate offense. A RICO predicate offense is what you would do if you were the DOJ. It's normally used for the mob, but you could use it for state police too. Sure. If you want to charge
all the old movies, right, Grant? The RICO was brought up a lot in the old movies about the mobsters that were true stories.
Now, it's a very famous statute because it lay dormant from its initial passage in 1971. It's the Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization Act. It lay dormant from 71 until 85. By the way, if you've never learned the story about why RICO came to be a thing, it's not just like Rudy Giuliani figured it out. It's that the dude who wrote the statute, one man, went around to every DOJ office and was like, hey, did you know I wrote this statute like 15 years ago? I think you should use it. And they were like, that's a good idea. Yeah, it is a good idea.
Nobody using it. Exactly. Happens all the time.
Yep, but this one is very powerful because it has like 26 predicate offenses. And what it does is it's meant for like a mob boss. Like you are a mob boss, not you, but the idea was they wanted to get mob bosses. So you as a mob boss, okay, Kat, you are sitting there and you don't do anything. You're like Lucky Luciano or whatever the hell. You don't actually do the hits. You don't say to do the hit. Like you have some dude who just tells some dude, like the capo tells the other dude, and the other dude does that. All right. You can't get those guys unless you have a statute that says being part of a racketeer influence corrupt organization is a crime in and of itself. Okay. That's how they got the mob eventually. Okay. Now let's transpose it to the state police. You know, Michael Proctor is lying about his phone. You know, he's going to lie to the judge. You know, Tully is into some shit. You know, they covered up Birchmore, but they're the state police. They're a paramilitary intelligence gathering organization. So just let them lie, let them obstruct justice, then approach them like
Sherry D has a comment for you, and it's a good point. She says, hence why Karen's defense team didn't object during the case when we all thought he should have at times.
And I can tell you 100% that Karen's team knew about the March 7th, 2024. Now, Brian Walsh Brian Walsh's lawyers called it an NDA between Brian Tully and the DOJ about an ongoing investigation of the performance of the state police. Bullshit. NPA. Brian Walsh's lawyers misread the TUI index. It's a non-prosecution agreement. Tully proffered. There's no doubt in my mind Tully proffered on March 7, 2024. About what? I don't fucking know. Proctor, right. Birchmore, what? Not my business. But
probably
the point is,
a combination of all of the above.
Correct. And Morrissey then retains Michael J. Sullivan, who used to be the U.S. attorney in Massachusetts, who works with John Ashcroft, who used to be the U.S. attorney's general, to represent him right after Proctor's phone starts becoming an issue. I'm telling you. And then Jen McCabe committed a little soft, let's call it soft obstruction, in my opinion. Soft obstruction, if there's such a thing.
Kind of like a white lie versus a dark, deep lie.
Yeah. Okay. Then you got Jen McCabe, Brian Tully, Michael Proctor in rooms where you're like, hey, you want to catch a federal obstruction charge? You want to roll on these guys who covered up Birchmore? Was it John Fanning? Who's the father of her child? Tell us. And then you have your cooperating witnesses.
Very good possibility.
Oh, is there a question? How did Brian Albert and Brian Higgins know the day before to get rid of their phones? Do you think a certain someone in the AG's office tipped them off? Not the Attorney General's office, and it's two different things. Brian Albert is more like connected with the local police. Brian Higgins was an undercover DEA agent. He definitely called his handlers who were like, bro, go to a military base, get rid of your SIM card because otherwise people are going to get killed. That's why I want people to understand two different things. Albert, I don't know. Higgins, because he would have gotten people killed. He was an undercover DEA agent. A 100%. Maine Justice called his field office and told him to.
Also, though, Grant, here's the thing, though. If that's just the case, if it's just because Higgins was an ATF agent and he had very sensitive information, of course, most would.
Undercover ATF.
Correct. Then why lie about it? Why would
instructed to? I was there when he came to court. The men, it was one woman, one man. They looked like they were going to just shoot anyone who got near him. He was told exactly what to say. I'm telling you, the men in suits came with him. If anyone went near him, they were going to draw down on him. I saw them. It was the scariest people who came to the trial. They guarded him like a fox.
Wow. I've never heard anybody talk about that before you just now.
You had to be in the courtroom. There were only 10 of us. There were only a few of us.
Right. And so that's interesting that he was heavily guarded by ATF. But I still believe that for true transparency, because this was a murder investigation, sorry, YouTube, M word, and a trial with, so publicized at that point in time, by the time Higgins took the stand, why wouldn't they just have him tell the truth that he was told to get rid of his phone by his superiors?
You want to know the actual reason? 28 CFR 16.26 through 27.
How the hell do you remember all these numbers, Grant? You are amazing.
Section 25 of the DOJ Operations Manual, which is just an interpolation of US XREL 2EV Reagan from 1951. So I just know a lot about it. So I don't understand it. It's not root. No, yeah, I know Caitlin Albert worked with the AG, but it's not about that. What happened is that, like, federal investigatory, like, people don't understand, like, everybody, if you go to a judge and you're the feds and you're like, hey, this dude is cooperating, even a state level charge, if like he's got a concurrent state charge and a federal charge, if you're like, bro, we need him to cooperate, like, he can't go to prison here, the state judge is not going to stand up in court and be like, hello, the DOJ came to me and told me this guy's a cooperating informant, so I'm just going to reduce his sentence. No, they're going to be like 18 months, time served, no balance, go away. And it's going to look like that on the record, but he's a fucking informant.
Right.
People have to understand the nuance of how all of this works. Everyone thinks that, like, you cannot go up there because of a negotiated deal ahead of time and present something a certain way. Everyone thinks that Alan Jackson was not told about all this. Of course he was. Anything that they were doing that was really touching on national security, protected informants, Alan was consciously not doing anything about it. He might have let people speculate, but he's too respectful. He was not going to go up there and burn informants or anything like that because he knows how to play the game. That's why. But I also don't want to get lost in the sauce here because it's the McCabe's. It was not just the PI firm. And we have to talk about this. The case US v. Heibel from 2018 in the Sixth Circuit is very important. It's actually just an interpretation of the rules of US v. Skinner from 2001. And it has to do with the government agency rules for when a private person becomes a member of a prosecution team. And it's a three-pronged standard. The government can acquiesce to the person's conduct. They can instruct them to do it. Or and by doing that, by doing any of those two things, that person, like Kate Peter or Marty Kraft or whoever, is actually a member of the prosecution team, and there are discovery burdens imposed on them. Therefore, this whole evidence laundering operation, which is all it was.
And Grant, that doesn't have to be put out to the public. They're allowed to bring civilians onto their prosecution team, and that doesn't have to be disclosed.
It's a very it's not a wishy-washy standard if you interpret Heibel the way that I do. I'm not a lawyer, but if you read the Heibel case, I'll just explain it to you. And it's a very sympathetic victim, by the way, and they still almost ruled against her. And so this woman had a fight with her boyfriend. The cops get there. The woman's like, this dude was recording my underage child. I want him arrested. The cop's like, oh, do you have the phone? She goes into his car, gets the phone, gives it to the cop. Is that a Fourth Amendment search? No. Why did the court say no? Because the cop said, do you have the phone? Not, will you go get the phone? If the cop had instructed her to get the phone, she becomes a government agent. Fourth Amendment attaches, exclusionary rule, unreasonable search, no warrant.
Right.
No exception.
Right.
If the person is just a private citizen and can avoid the designation of government agency or government agent, which doesn't mean an FBI agent, it means you are an agent of the government. If you can avoid that, the Fourth Amendment only applies to government actors. So if you are just a private citizen, you can just rampage through the Constitution. You are not subject to it. Now, this is a big problem for something called parallel construction, which is what happened to Karen and Aiden. If police obtain information in violation of the Fourth Amendment, they just launder it to some other cop. They have a PI or whatever, launder it to a cop who then figures it out in a constitutional way, and this is legal. It's called parallel construction, and it's called evidence laundering. And it is 100% what they did.
Really fine line, right? Is it extremely fine line? You said
yes,
it sounds like a very fine line.
It's legal, but the risk you run as a competent defense attorney like Mark Betterow or Tim Bradle or Alan Jackson or Karen Reed saying, wait a minute, Kate Peter was an agent of the government. I want all the evidence she touched subject to the exclusionary rule. Therefore, they hid from Karen and Aiden that Kate was working for the prosecution team. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. And let's circle back, because this is where we were, and then we went down these other rabbit holes, which you and I love to do, and I love to listen to all of it. So how is it that is not somehow illegal what they have done, bringing Kate Peter, who was never a police officer, never worked in law enforcement, did not have a PI license, had never taken a certification class or course to be a PI? How many laws did they break, bringing her onto Marty Kraft's?
Well, it's more than that. She was running a Discord server that had witnesses for the trial on it during both trials. Michael Morrissey was sending himself links in his email to that Discord server. I mean, Jen McCabe was on it, other family members, other witnesses. Kate was coordinating, like, in essence, these people were prosecuting cases on which they were witnesses. It wasn't just they were providing information. They were literally prosecuting the cases. And Ken Mello and...
Yes, and the social media that was behind all of this, that was constantly barraging
all
Twitter.
Just people from her Discord.
all people from, that's what I assumed all along. And most of us did. That's why I always encouraged most of my subscribers and viewers not to get into wars with them on Twitter X, because they're just there as some kind of nefarious agents. They're not there to have a true conversation with you or a true debate with you.
But what they want to do is frame the Overton window. So they want you talking about Chloe, like any distraction they can put up, like whatever, as long as you're not talking about Sandra Birchmore, Brian Tully, Jen McCabe talking, the PI firm, the hidden discovery. And that's why if you saw me asking questions to Kate on Lily Kangaroo's Space yesterday and the day before, she couldn't answer these questions. She could not answer. Like, she started misleading people about, like, first she said, oh, no, when I sent something to Yuri in September of 2023, that wasn't working with them. That was about the witness stuff, obviously, intimidation, whatever. No, Yuri's report says, Catherine Peter, information about John O'Keefe, MV homicide. Okay? So it's very clear, and it gets worse. My own mother has been tormenting me since Michael Proctor's phone came out. Now, she has been around for a year and a half, Michael Proctor's wife's uncle. Okay, I know it's him.
Michael Proctor's wife, who is Courtney
Liz.
Proctor, right?
No,
Wait, no,
Liz.
Courtney Proctor's the sister.
His sister. Liz is the wife.
Liz is the wife, and it's her father?
No, her uncle.
Or uncle. Got it. Okay.
So his uncle-in-law, her uncle.
Got it.
Is very intimately connected with my mother and has been for a year and a half. Now, I'm not a moron. You know that.
You're a towel, but you're not a moron.
And I hate when people insult my fucking intelligence.
Exactly.
And my mother was insulting my fucking intelligence for the past 18 months, as was Kate Peter, as was Brian Tully, and Yuri Buchanan, and Michael Morrissey, and all these pricks.
People's intelligence have been getting insulted. And that's another thing. We've all been seeing that right along with you and supporting you, that we are sick and tired of our intelligence getting insulted by the liars gonna lie. And that's what.
But it was in my home. It was in my home.
Right. And that's
okay. And I knew she was lying. I knew it, because she would let things slip. She would say things, my mother, like, oh, the McCabe's and Alberts approached me, but they couldn't afford my old law firm, so they didn't end up doing the referral. Okay, that's weird. Then she would say things like, oh, I don't talk to any of these people. Well, bro, you just told me you talked to them like 4 weeks ago. I have a perfect didactic memory. What are you fucking saying? So I was already like, this woman's lying to me. I don't care if she's my own mother. She's lying to me. And I know it's about Kate Peter and like Elise Bennett and the O'Keefe cousin, Steph, whatever. They would let it slip like they were talking to my mother. And I was like, why the fuck are you all contacting my fucking mother? What are you all up to? Like, she's getting older. Are you going to manipulate her? Like, I knew it was coming. As soon as Proctor's phone came out and I started going hard and started putting this together and driving the attention to Marty Kraft's firm and Kate Peter, my mother started retaliating in the words of Kate Peter. Oh, you smoke too much cannabis because of your colitis. Oh, your room isn't clean enough. Oh, you're struggling with money. Those are specific things she narrowed in on. Now it got worse and worse. And all of us, and Kate, my mom saying, I don't know Kate Peter. I don't talk to fucking Kate Peter. Kate Peter saying, oh, Grant, I don't know your mother. What comes out last night? A text from March of 2024. While Kate was employed for Marty Kraft, saying she was just sitting down to work and talking to Wendy Murphy for advice.
Yep.
They were lying to me the whole time.
You know your own mother better than anyone. So again, most of us can tell when people that are close to us are lying to us, because humans have tells. And unless you're a really, really good liar, which some people are, but usually there's always a tell that'll pop out now and again. And that's how you can really.
No, my mother is a really good liar.
Yeah,
my mother, Wendy Murphy,
lawyers are.
Yes, she's one of the best. And she, my whole life has been like that. And so I just didn't give her, like, I would take her seriously, but not really give her opinions or statements like weight. Like if she ever said, this is what a case said, I'd be like, I'm going to go read it. Like, I'm not taking your word for it. Yeah. So I tried to love her. I never thought she would put this kind of thing above her own family, until I realized I've always had this suspicion that my mother is very close to the government. Not the state government. I mean, like the government, like President Trump, like Bill O'Reilly, like the real movers and shakers. Why? Because those are her friends. Like I grew up, like Montel Williams gave me my first GameCube. Like when I was like 11, he was like, here's a GameCube. Like your mom had to come down to New York. Like, and I got this great Need for Speed game. I got a Wavebird controller. I got so many gold medals in that game. My point is, that's where I got my GameCube. So then, like, I
grew up around these people. Your mother has been famous for many years, and she's not that old, by the way. She's not old enough to be falling for manipulation. She's not in her 80s. You know, when things kind of slow down for us, if we get in our 80s, if we
she is.
God help us if we all make it to our 80s, because a lot of us don't, but many do. But things kind of slow down for you, and brain fog is real. But your mom is not that much older than me. So
yeah, but she's very vulnerable because of the stress. She's I know, but I live with her.
I get it.
It's the stress and
multiple and the movers and the shakers, the world in which she has lived in all these
It will
years.
wear you down.
Of course it will. Real quick to pause. Sherry D wrote about Kevin Clapp dated John Fanning's mom years ago. Kevin was like a second dad to John Fanning. We're talking before the police academy.
And who's Kevin Clapp?
I don't know. Interesting, Sherry D. I mean, I've heard the name, but I don't know who this is. Let me go down here and see if she's got any more for us here. Kevin and John, disagreement after John's mom passed. Kevin was in the right. John screwed over Kevin in more ways than one. Check out the pictures of Kevin I've never seen. So who is this, Sherry D? Can you enlighten us?
Which John? Because John's mom is
she's not
John
talking
O'Keefe's
about
mom.
John O'Keefe. John Fanning's mom.
Kevin Albert, and is that who's Kevin Albert?
No, she said Kevin Clapp.
Who is Kevin Clapp?
Dated John Fanning. Let's see. She'll help us out here, Sherry D. Grant's using air quotes. Doesn't sound like something that's kosher. That's funny, Sherry D. I love air quotes. I think it's bullshit how the prosecution hides discovery for the defense team. I don't get it. Adam Lally, when on the stand, acted clueless. Yeah, he seriously did, but I think Adam Lally's a good liar, Sherry D. Frustration. MCAT doesn't like it either. Distractions, yes. The color of the sole of the sneaker when the bigger picture is planted evidence as good initially report shows no sneaker, later replaced with a pic with a sneaker. Oh yeah, we talked about that on Friday Night Live several times, didn't we, Sherry D? Wow, Wendy, yeah, people are sorry about what you've been through. So Sherry D, Grant, I'm sorry, damn March convo between Kate and Wendy. But Sherry D, I know you're busy and you're kind of listening aside, but tell us who Kevin Clappers or does.
I figured it out. He's a guy who there's a lawsuit you can find, and he also did an interview. I don't know if it was Calling All Beings. I have the link here, but Kevin Clapp speaks about his experience with Lieutenant John Fanning and Brian Tully and other state police troopers. So he is someone that had a very negative experience there. I need to read more about it, but he is out there. Going back, though, to my mother and all this. So it's not really just that it's my mother. It's that she clearly knew Kate Peter, probably knew the state police were working with Marty Kraft, probably knew that this was all tied into the Turtle Boy and Karen investigation. And so, and you know what's weird? My mother always said that, like, she didn't care about Turtle Boy. So that leads me to believe the powers that be don't care about Turtle Boy and they want Karen, which means a lot of these moles that we're seeing around Kate that are getting exposed probably aren't Karen people. And they aren't anti-Turtle Boy people, they're moles for the state. But let's circle back to what came out over today, okay? As if Marty Kraft being in the Herald wasn't enough, as if all of this coming together, the documents, the discovery, the withheld information, David Yannetti reposting it, as if this wasn't all leading up to the final conclusion. I got it today. And I want to sit here with you for the next 37 minutes and talk about how I had a moment when I figured this out today, where I was like, fuck, I finally figured it the fuck out. And it's not that I even care that much about figuring it out. I was just like, why the fuck are these people so powerful? Because I don't like specters. I don't fucking shoot at specters. I want to know, I just want to know what I'm up against. I absolutely, yes, Sherry D, we did locate that name, and I put a little more context and found the link. I'm going to watch the interview, but I need to talk about what we found today because this is huge. And we're you mentioned John earlier, the broadcast. I'm going on with him tomorrow. I'm pleased to announce we'll be talking about Matt McCabe because of what came out today, I'm sure, and more. Folks, I knew something was wrong when Sean McCabe went on a Twitter space and threatened to unalive Turtle Boy in the middle of a road. I was like, oh no, this has all gone completely off the rails. Like something very bad is coming. I could not imagine what it was. I kept thinking this has got to be like the Quincy connection, the Southie connection. Like it's got to be dirty money. It's got to be dirty money. It's got to be dirty money. No, I got hit over the head today with what is actually going on, and I have the primary source documents. Say what you will about them. They speak for themselves. Matt McCabe in 2023 got as much to as could be as high as $36.5 million, but is roughly $19 million obligated. Zero actually paid out. The Department of Defense military intel contract to provide services to war fighters at Nellis Air Force Base in a secretive wing of the Air Force. Now, tell me, which bumbling fucking morons from Canton do you know are getting $39 million Defense Department contracts to work on Nellis Air Force fucking base? No, these people are fucking intel. I knew it. Not just intel, very well connected and very well paid. It's incredible.
Oh my gosh, Grant! You sent it to me before the show, before we went live, and I read it. It doesn't completely shock me because if you remember one of your lives, and you've had a lot, but one of them that I was in the chat with, and we were talking about how Matt McCabe subtly should be more in the foreground than anybody's put him there because he owns an IT company, people. And so, like we it's like he's just stayed in this background, being this like character almost where everybody was making fun of him, talking about the Asian house. I'll use your air quotes, right? And talking about how tell him the guy never went in the house. And other than that, Matt McCabe's just kind of been way in the background. I mean, Julie and her donuts and Julie Nagel and her black blob and the three kids in the truck not seeing John O'Keefe.
Yeah, that was Kate's job. Do you get it now? That was Kate's job.
Really?
The Overton window means the range of acceptable topics of discourse. If you just have people talk about Chloe and blobs and timestamps and all this shit, nobody's going to talk about the money.
Right.
And donuts.
What's the oldest line in the book, right? For any crime, for any unsolved crime, follow the money. It's in every major movie you'll ever watch about crime. It's in every book you'll ever read about crime. It's in every investigation that I've ever looked into. There is something that has to do with power and money.
Therefore, Turtle Boy was a perfect foil because then they could plan. You don't know how many of those emails to Jen McCabe's school were probably from Kate. They would just be like, it's all Turtle Boy's people. And therefore no one would ask the right questions even more. Oh, they're victims, blah, blah, blah. No, these people got fucking money and connections. And I'm sure Karen, because she's not a moron and she's never said anything about this, which is how I know I'm fucking right, was like, oh my God, they're high level military intelligence contractors and they're worth hundreds of millions. And David and Al were like, oh fuck, we better go to the feds. The only people that can stop these bastards are the feds. You don't understand. There is but anyway, I want to explain this, dude. This is how I missed it. Me being a naive little fucking moron, I was just like, oh, he owns a tech company. He's got a few million. It's a dime a dozen. He's got his McMansion. His wife's just into voodoo dolls because she's a little weird. Look how naive. Do you understand? I literally was like, oh, maybe she's just like into ritualistic voodoo dolls because she's a little weird. And maybe he's just a millionaire with a tech company. No. I knew it was eyes wide shut shit because I was like telling people this is fucking eyes wide shut. It's very clear. These people are not just like living in Canton. They are hiding in plain sight. I didn't know it was the government. God damn it. This happens to me all the time. I just wanted to look. I just wanted to know why Paula Brado was so weird. I didn't know her dad stole missile secrets and gave them to the Egyptians, and then he cooperated, and then, oh, you don't understand. It just happens. And I'm like, oh, God damn it, not again. So anyway, that's my thought process. I know it's not very erudite because I haven't composed myself yet. This happened 1.5 hours ago.
It just happened. Yeah, just a minute, Tanner. I'll take that, buddy. I wanted to put up Sherry's comment up here, and then I'm going to run my little puppy outside real quick while you address some of these questions. Sherry D says, Grant, I would love for you to look into Kevin Clapp's case. His lawsuit against the CW, John Fanning and Brian Tully ruined his life.
Yeah, and thank you for that question. There's a lot to look into with this unit because the nexus to tie this all back is the RICO. So we got off talking about the RICO predicates, but does anyone actually think that the Federal Department of Justice cares about Michael Proctor's text messages? I'm sorry, I don't mean to belittle what he did. Do you really think cops don't talk like that? I'm sorry, we need to get off our sanctimonious high horse. They put their lives on the line every day. They're hardened. They're just like, fuck it. Like, do you really think that's abnormal? I'm sorry. Yeah, Proctor went way over the line. But if you think that that's out of the norm and going to lead to a DOJ investigation, you're out of your mind. Even withholding them is not going to lead to a DOJ investigation. 1 obstructive act, 10 obstructive acts, it's obstruction. It's literally like contempt of Congress. Okay. I'm sure the sentencing guidelines are stronger for obstruction than contempt of Congress, but it's still not the most serious federal crime. It's a very low-level federal crime, but it just happens to be a RICO predicate offense. Okay. Why you don't really care, in my opinion, if you're the DOJ, that Jen McCabe and Michael Proctor withheld discovery. You might care that the Norfolk DA was letting them run a prosecution. You might care that they were coordinating a prosecution where they were witnesses. You might care that they were hiding discovery as part of that. That's all snowballing, though. Right? But what's the thing you might really be interested in? Clearly, who cleared Matthew Farwell for Sandra Birchmore's murder? Now, what blew my mind today is I've always known it was the DOJ trying to investigate this unit. Okay. Anyone who read the Leslie documents, the May 26, 2022 impanelment of the public corruption grand jury, that was way before Karen had Allen on her team, before David even, there was no indictment in Karen's case. David didn't even have his trial strategy. He only had like a glimmer of a trial strategy. I know this because I watched his October 2022 interview with Court TV where he was still developing his trial strategy. So May 2022, no, it was not related to Karen. It was Birchmore. Somebody, probably 2 people in the Canton Police Department, whistle blew about Tully's MSP unit and the Stoughton cops and the Norfolk DA covering up Sandra Birchmore's murder and exonerating Matt Farwell. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why? That makes no fucking sense. You know what I'm saying? If you're the DOJ, you're like, why the fuck would these fuckers do this? Well, it's really fucking serious.
Hey, Grant,
it's not just sorry.
MCAT says who cleared Farwell?
It was John Fanning.
It was Fanning.
It was Fanning. Yeah, but you have to understand the chain of command was Tully, Buchanan, Fanning. So Fanning did it, but only Tully and Buchanan could sign off on it.
Yeah, they were all part of it. I talked about this when I had Mizzy on the show like 6 months ago, and all of us that obviously have common sense in this universe, which is most of us that are following your channel, my channel, and several of the other channels have common sense that the dirty cops that were involved in this grooming of many other girls, not just Sandra Birchmore, and Evil Divine is still out there. And now, Grant, he's trying to fight his decertification. He's going to appeal. He's that narcissistic, and
that's not going to fly. That's not going. It's never going to fly. He texted Sandra on the day she was taken from this earth, along with her 8 to 10 week old unborn baby boy, who never even got a name. Mr. Divine, maybe we can take your name.
I think it's
Let's
possible.
Take his name away.
I think it's possible. Divine is the father of Sandra's child. He was definitely involved in her. He wasn't.
Yeah, he was, but
teaching the grooming. He was involved in that circle, though, Grant. He could be. I mean, he could be just as likely as Fanning could be. Or
what name do you think? What name do you think shows up the most often in the 302s?
Billy Farwell.
John Fanning.
Oh, John Fanning. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've said that. Many of us have said that in lives that we've been on. Many of our in our friend zone.
They made him write the report because if it went bad, he would be the fall guy. He's going to, I'm telling you, they're going to get him. They're going to get him.
Oh,
I really I want to be very gentle about this because one, it has to do with Farwell and he's clearly cooperating and they need to keep him alive. So let's just all remember. And that's the other thing. Like, I wish people would show, like, I know you do, obviously, Cap, but I wish people would show so much more deference to certain elements of this. Like, clearly, I'm trying to tell you as much as I can, one, to keep myself and some very vulnerable people safe. And also because, like, people need to know what's happening or they're not going to understand the developments. You wouldn't understand the Marty Kraft stuff if you didn't understand the Kate stuff, if you didn't understand the Yannetti post about the discovery being hidden. It all layers on itself. So as I'm telling you this, it's because I see where the winds are blowing. But I want to be clear about the documents that we don't even know where they came from. Okay. Shout out Mizzy and Barb for the Justice for Sandra Birchmore work they do. It's incredible. Shout out Ida Lee on Twitter. But you can read
literally there by themselves, Grant, when nobody was even thinking or caring about Sandra Birchmore, when no one knew who she was. They never gave up. A lot like the Ellen Greenberg folks who have never 100%. Given up on justice for her. The Mizzy and Barbara and the many others who I don't know all their first names, but they never gave up. They knew that she was unalived by the hands of someone else. They never believed in that whole frame up. Sandra Birchmore and Ellen Greenberg have something in common in that they were both framed for their own unalivings.
100%.
And neither one of them have any justice yet. At least we have one of the Farwell brothers in prison right now, but he's been there since August and he hasn't even seen a courtroom yet.
He never will. He never will.
No, I know.
Because even though he did it, he was doing it for a larger ring. And I don't want people to forget page 99 through 102. Of the Canton Police Department April 2025 audit report. Read it. It details.
Let me write that down for everybody. Can you repeat that, Grant?
Yes, pages 99 through 102.
Through 102.
Of the Canton Police Department April 2025 audit report.
April 2025. I'm getting my typing skills back going here fast. Audit report.
And you will be able to read it, and I'll summarize it for you now. But you want to read it because it has everything you need to know. February, and I'll do this very quickly because I want to tie in the Birchmore cover-up to why I think the feds are very upset about this. It's not just Sandra's death, although that is grotesque in and of itself.
Yes.
February 1st, 2021, 9:27 p.m., Canton Woods apartment in Canton. Matthew Farwell arrives in a mask, like a face mask, and takes Sandra Birchmore's life. He's on camera. Fast forward 3 days. I think that was like a Monday or a Friday. Fast forward 3 days to either Monday or Tuesday.
It's such a creepy audio, such a creepy surveillance video.
It's horrifying. And that's in the audit report. They actually embed the surveillance video. So it's a very good audit report. And you will see these next three things. This is what tipped me off that it was a cover up. February 4th, Sandra's coworker at the school where she was an assistant calls in to a wellness check. The Canton Police Department get to Sandra's apartment and they find her dead. Within 48 hours, the Canton Police Department collected three distinct pieces of evidence. One, they talked to the maintenance worker who gave them the surveillance footage and told them that the man who moved Sandra into her apartment was Matthew Farwell, and he was the man on the videotape that night at 9:27 on the night she was murdered. Then they got Sandra's phone. Her battery had drained. They were able to get her time of death. Then they went to Sandra's school where they got information that Matthew Farwell had been abusing Sandra since she was an underage child. And then they got information that Matthew Farwell had told people if Sandra was going to insist on carrying her unborn baby to term, he was going to, quote, take care of the problem himself. Somehow on February 6, 2021, Brian Tully State Police Unit gets all this information. Then 6 months later, John Fanning, ignoring all of this, writes a report exonerating Farwell. Fast forward 3 years, or 2 years to August of 2023, suddenly the DOJ, right after the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed grand jury winds down, picks up the Farwell case and then indicts him in August of 2024. Fast forward to 2025, the fall, they had a second superseding indictment for the unaliving of Sandra's 8 to 10 week old unborn baby boy. Wouldn't you know it? They take the death penalty off the table 3 weeks later with the approval of U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. What's in those documents, though? Look at the Birchmore documents and you'll find that Sandra was threatened by an unnamed person over money she owed to the girls in a dorm/suite that she was involved in. Sandra lived alone in an apartment in Canton. Who paid for that apartment is an interesting question. Sandra didn't live in a dorm suite, and there were no girls with her. She was working in a brothel. She was groomed into that brothel, and it was a cop brothel. I know exactly where it was. I know exactly what it was. I know exactly how it was run. That's what the DOJ's onto. You didn't just piss off the DOJ by killing Sandra Birchmore and covering it up, Brian Tully's unit. You fucking exposed this very dangerous network. And you want to know what makes it worse? I think a lot of people around Cape Peter in particular know about it because they hunt predators. And when the Preds are LEO, they look the other way. It's a serious problem.
Or politicians.
Anyone with political power, but in particular law enforcement. I think law enforcement help predator hunters. So when you catch an LEO who's a pred, they're not really going down. You're going to blackmail them. And I'm very concerned that we have a problem. I'm not saying it's widespread, that we have a problem in law enforcement. We know we do in Stoughton. There's evidence of it.
Oh, I think it's more widespread than you realize because I've been tuned into some things down here in Florida, and it's not just happening in a vacuum in Massachusetts. It's happening throughout the country. And I do believe it's widespread. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think it's way worse than we even know. And just the whole Epstein files and what happened to those young children on Epstein's Island is a huge wake up call to so many people who just want to stick their head in the sand and say, I can't get involved. I can't do anything about it. And I understand that, though. I understand that because you have your own issues. You have your own families. You have your own concerns with bills and how do I make the mortgage and how do I pay the rent? And I lost my job and I need a surgery. And how am I supposed to worry about children and faceless people that I don't even know? Why isn't the government taking care of that? Why isn't law enforcement and FBI taking care of these people? Why is it put on citizen journalism and live streamers and people on the internet to call out these criminals? It's utterly insane to me that it's taking literally grassroots organizations and grassroots journalism to call out the crimes and nefarious activities.
Because why would it exist if we could stop it? These people, like, if they were just subject to being arrested, they would not hurt children. They do it because they have built a system of mutual blackmail.
Yes.
And that's why
blackmail. So well said. It's disgusting, but it is out there and it's happening. And I don't know if you saw this, Grant, but this pastor, so-called pastor that was one of Trump's, religious advisors, he got 6 months. 6 months for that was his punishment for sex with a minor 12-year-old. 6 months. That's what we deem is the appropriate punishment. I mean, it blows the mind.
Yep, and that's the people who get caught. The actual people who do this, it's what Kubrick was trying to say in Eyes Wide Shut to bring this back. They, for 2,000 years, maybe more, I don't know. I wasn't around. I don't think. Have had a system that they've run. It is a very simple but a very scary system. There's esoteric knowledge. There's exoteric knowledge. They look at people as cattle. I'm not using that word derogatorily. Okay. They just look at people as fucking sheep, useless fucking sheep.
Yeah.
So they don't think that now really, you can see how it could happen. Do you see people like me out there doing this, what I do? No, because they are in the boardrooms. They are in the political sanctums. They are the people making the decisions. Most of them make a conscious choice. Okay. There's like a very small percentage of the population that can even do this. And then among that population, there's an even smaller percentage that are benevolent because most of them are just fucking evil. and they're very smart, and they know exactly what they're doing. And what they think is, you people, you lower classes, you cannot make these decisions. They give lip service to democracy, but they think you are all dumb. I'm serious. I hate it. It's why I do the work I do. But they're like, listen, we have to make the decisions that will guide and bind the lower classes. You know, they can't rule themselves. It would be anarchy. Okay, well, after 2,000 years of doing this, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, whatever the fuck, all the Italian black nobility, all these families, Parnassi, whatever the fuck, I know them all. I know the names. When you do it for 2,000 years, don't you think you'd get a little bored? What are you going to fucking do every day? You don't need money. You own every government. You own every bank. You own every company. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to do what you won't let the other people in the lower classes do, and you're going to rub it in their fucking faces and not be ever held accountable. And that's what we're up against. I don't know why the fuck they think that way. I think it's stupid, but it's been the way it's been for 2,000 years. Are we emerging into a new digital epoch where there's a check and balance on that? And is it probably a precursor to a shift in the ages themselves? Yes. So are those people falling out of favor, and are they utterly fucking baffled that they can be stopped because a bunch of people on the internet are like, fuck you too? Yeah, they're baffled, I'm sure. In fact, you meet some of them, like they're literally, you would think they're fucking aliens, because they could be the most evil fucking person in the world, and they can even manipulate their vibe they give off where they just seem innocuous. That's why they're kind of like shapeshifters. They're not actually fucking aliens, but they're just psychopaths, and they can just present themselves to you as just like a fucking beaming like ray of sunshine. No, you motherfucker, I know what you did. I know you did it in this place behind this door, and I know why you act the way you do. Don't fuck with me. That's how I treat them. I don't know how I'm alive, because these people are fucking everywhere. I do. For every one of them that I've been able to stop, there are a few who have gotten away, because they're so fucking powerful that it doesn't matter what you do. They go to some fucking lodge and they're like, oh yeah, put out an order that nobody can do anything about this. Well, fuck your lodge. Fuck your bullshit. What are you doing? And so that's why I get so upset when I find out, after all of this, setting aside the aristocratic bullshit, setting aside the like weird parties, the weaponization of sex, the blackmail, the fake accounts, the hidden discovery, I knew what this was. It was intel. It was always intel. And I always, what I missed, and I'm going to enjoy this catharsis, because what I missed was, even I, who was telling people, do not miss the forest through the trees, I was thinking, this can't be anything other than state level intel. It can't be anything other than maybe like the DOJ ran an operation to investigate this unit. And so the state police were like, oh, let's use some of our tactics that Yuri learned in the military. Let's get Marty Kraft and let's kind of run what's called counter intel. You try to obstruct the Fed's investigation. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's all I could conceptualize it as, that they had to have just been using like low level state police tactics. No, $39 million contract, Nellis Air Force Base, highly secretive warfighter division of the Air Force. No. It was the McCabe's, whoever the fuck are in their orbit. I don't know what this is. It's not Morrissey. Okay, Morrissey has his own political connections, but I knew from the beginning, I was told, I have good sources in the Massachusetts political arena. It's not Morrissey, it's the people around him. And it's not the mob. People got completely thrown off by this like boogeyman or whatever. It's not the mob. It is the defense industrial complex. You do not get a $39 million contract to go to Nellis Air Force Base to provide high level, like complex, confidential, like consulting on warfighter technology that has to do with technology, okay, or anything to do with that. It is not random. It is reflective of entrenched systemic connections that are the highest echelons of power. Folks do not understand. When you go to the Bohemian Grove, who do you think it is? Do you think it's fucking like some like prince from Denmark? No, It is like Thomas Hudnut from the California Horse Racing Board and some fucking doctor who invented the art of like jury studying and things like studying a jury. Those are the people. Do you know their names? No, I do. Do you see them? Do you understand, folks, that fame is a degraded form of power? The people who are famous, like the real powerful people, look down on them like fucking peons. Like, how you're famous? That sucks for you, bro. Because that's not what power is. And that's what people don't understand. And it hides in plain sight.
That is so interesting, because when I was thinking about today and the different questions I wanted to ask you, and mostly just to let you share and fill us in on everything you've been working on this last month. But I thought about everything that went on with the anti-Karen Reed group. The free Karen Reed group split into two fractions. And they all, but here's the problem in all of that. They each have their own little clubs, and they use Discord, as you know, to form their little channel where they can get together and talk their club speech. But yet I mean, I've actually seen it. I don't have the screenshot to prove it right now receipt wise, but I've seen comments made by both anti-groups and the two fractions of the Karen Reed that were the cool kids, were in the cool kids club. Like, even voicing that when we're talking about a murder investigation is incredibly short-sighted to me. And it's the reason why I've refused to ever take a side. As you know, Grant, I've always believed that Karen Reed did not hit John O'Keefe with her car. I've never stepped off that. I'll die on that hill if I have to, because I truly don't believe that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. And I followed the evidence. I had Friday Night Lies for an entire year where I went over every single important key witnesses testimony, from Chris and Julie Elbert all the way down to the kids in the truck and Julie Nagel and on. And we went over it, the guests that I had and the guest speakers that I had, and we showed you the inconsistencies. We showed all of you what was wrong with this case. But yet the antis still formed their cool club, and they still tried to make the rest of us out to be like we're idiots, or like we have no lives, or something that the ladies said the other night on their show. I've watched bits and pieces of it. I can't stomach it for a full hour, but I watched bits and pieces of it, saying something to the effect of, women in my age group, or as Meredith put it, the postmenopausal women in the Free Karen Reed movement have nothing better to do with our lives. We're unhappy souls who have no life, and that's why we follow true crime. Is just so incredibly naive.
Oh, I'll explain it to you, because it's not in good faith. I'll lay it out for you. I love this question, and you nailed it. You're sensing that it's inauthentic, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. You've probably heard of CONTELAPRO.
Yeah.
And the foundations of that are disrupt, disorganize, destroy. The division in the Free Karen Reed movement is fake and seeded by Kate Peter. The thing people don't understand is that Meredith O'Neill was not random. Meredith O'Neill was planted in Turtle Boy's life.
I knew
in
that
the fall of 2023.
Yes, Grant, we talked about it on Friday Night Lives. A bunch of us were discussing it one night, that there's no way in hell that any of that made any sense, that there was too much suspect.
Wait till you hear this. The night of the Apple Watch, Meredith knew those guys in Canton. She went over to another table to make Aiden jealous for decades. They knew her and her parents. Meredith's ex-boyfriend, very good friends with a still active Canton cop. Now, think about some other strange things.
And Ida Lee kind of gave us some intel on Meredith's ex-boyfriend as well. Are you aware of that?
Please tell me.
Well, I would love to get you and Ida Lee on together. Do you know Ida Lee? Have you been able to?
She's wonderful. I follow her Twitter.
She's amazing. And she has been screwed over big time by the police department. She gave intel on Sandra Birchmore way before Mizzy or anybody ever even formed their group. And she's been harassed. Her children have been harassed. What this woman has been put through is
by Marty Kraft. Marty Kraft, and that predated. So, but I wanted to tie this in. So, Ida Lee's absolutely onto it, which is that. So pull me back. We were talking about the artificial
Meredith.
divide. Okay, Meredith was, if you think about three specific people, Meredith O'Neill, Jason Broyles, and then the Roccos, who we'll consider one people. Is this
Look who's here, Grant? We got her. We got our girl. You keep going.
This is great, Italy. So this is where I'm at. Meredith, this is the first time we've ever talked. Meredith. I know.
I'm so glad to have you two meet.
Meredith, Jason Broyles, the Roccos all come into the Free Karen Reed movement and the Free Turtle Boy movement in October of 2023, thereabouts. Jason Broyles pays for a Free Karen Reed billboard with the Roccos' help and then disappears and comes back as Haley a few months later in an operation. He calls it a social experiment. Okay, what if all those people were really Kate Peter people working with Brian Tully and that unit? And what if the reason why Meredith started to sow this divide in the Free Karen Reed movement is that she's not pro Karen? It's fake. She wants Karen to think that she hates Aiden and that the Roccos hate Aiden and that Broyles hates Aiden, so that Karen will let them get close to her, because the state police the whole time have just been going for Karen and they need an informant close to her. That's why I'm sure David Unetti reposted my post, because he was like, hey, Karen, I think he's probably right. We should listen to the towel. So there you go. I know Ida Lee will probably echo that, but Ida Lee, I'm telling you, Meredith was not random. She came into his life because she was an informant.
There's no way she was random. It was so clear leading up to this whole debacle that's gone on for the past 8 months. I'm going to run the dog out. Ida Lee, introduce yourself to Grant. I'll be right back, everyone.
Hey, Grant, how's it going?
Oh, I'm good. We've put so much together. I'm telling you, Matt McCabe, listen, Matt McCabe is clearly a high-level military intelligence contractor, $39 million, Nellis Air Force Base. I was right. Did you even know about that? If you didn't know about that, that shows you it's confidential. I'm right. These people are very powerful.
They are. It's all public filings if you dig deep enough.
Well, yeah, I like to tell the story. You know, I'm from down the lake.
The lake? Newton. Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah. They just got a new chief of police, I hear, from Braintree.
Yeah, my grandfather was the chief of fire there for like 30 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, so you're
connected. He actually rose. Me, I'm just a towel, but he rose from a bricklayer to the chief of fire. And, you know, they lived down the lake, and I think they even lived above Urardi's. Now that I think about it, I think they lived in that apartment. I used to play bocce behind Urardi's all the time.
Good old bocce ball. You're an old timer. I like it.
I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, I'm from down the lake, and I like to tell people this story about how the lake is not all that it seems, and it's not what you think. Back in the 1800s, the lake in Newton was called Silver Lake, and it was just a neighborhood around a lake. The factories moved away, though, and then some other factories came in, but they didn't really have names, you know? They sold mattresses, but they were not mattress firms. And just down the road from the lake was the Watertown Arsenal, which was legitimately an arsenal. You ever wonder why Sturrow Drive's so easy to fucking drive when you get to the end over by Cambridge there? It's a fucking military road. They used to take you to the fucking arsenal. They needed the commanders to be able to fly into Logan, drive down Sturrow, pop over the fucking arsenal. Anyway, it's really cool. It's like very well designed. Our military engineers are fucking genius. Looks like a fucking civilian road. No, bro, it's a military road. I love driving that fucking thing. Anyway, the point is Raytheon, okay? Raytheon was just in the middle of fucking Newton down the lake. Everybody was a military contractor. Nobody told their fucking families they were military contractors. That was low level. They made the fucking munitions. They shipped it over to the fucking arsenal. We put it in World War II, and then it kept going during the Cold War. You bring it over to the thing, and you do what you got to do with it. I have no comment beyond that. The point is, that's what the Army does in the military. I don't know if people really understand, and I don't want to go for too long because I don't want to interrupt that other fundraiser that Karen's going to do, but I want to be clear. What you know is the CIA what you know as the NSA, those things did not exist until 1948. Prior to 1948, you had the Army Intelligence Agency, the Air Force Intelligence, you had Navy Intelligence, you had every department had an intelligence agency. It was called the Defense Intelligence Agency. It eventually got amalgamated into one agency. That type of contracting is older than the CIA. It is the most lucrative form, the most powerful form of government contracting. The amount of money I saw in that contract, even though none of it's actually been paid out, but just the amount I saw appropriated, $19 million fucking dollars to a contractor, some dude working out of Canton, to Nellis in Nevada on the confidential 805th, like very secretive squadron. No. That man and whoever he knows, they are military contractors. They are very high level military contractors. This is outrageous, the level of power we're dealing with. That's why the DOJ in Boston couldn't get anywhere. That's why Karen was terrified. And Yuri has a military intelligence connection. He was on Marine One. All these MSP dudes came out of the military basically, Fanning, etc. I think what we actually ran into was the Defense Intelligence Establishment represented by Matt McCabe and Jen McCabe's voodoo dolls. That's why they were acting untouchable, Italy. That's the scary part of this. This is big time.
Gotta get the voodoo dolls in for the big time.
I don't understand.
But yeah,
now
I agree.
I understand. That's scary. They just live. And I knew this. Okay, I'll speak very generally. I knew this was possible because growing up, my sister babysat for someone. You would think they are the most normal fucking people in the world. Normal people, just regular kids, order pizza on Friday night. One day my sister comes home and she's like, yeah, so, they told me this whole time they've been in the government and they have to upgrade their security on their house and I can't babysit anymore because they have to get someone who's approved by the government.
You need clearance for babysitting now. I like it.
And
sometimes it does feel like you might need that.
I watched them do the upgrades to these people's house after my sister said this. I did not believe her at first. And then they did the upgrades. I was like, oh my God, they're in the government. They just live amongst us.
You would think they would have had a slightly less janky confidential informant jig going.
They're not
with all that power.
I think my best read of why they did it, it's actually brilliant because it was twofold. It was one, to keep the attention off Birchmore and off this stuff, Matt McCabe, Intel connections, this money, whatever the fuck. It was meant to keep people talking about flashy stuff about the trial, but it got out of hand. Okay. Because of Turtle Boy. Cause I don't think anyone thought Karen was going to talk to Turtle Boy. That was an accident because Natalie saw Jen Altman commenting and that it was a historical accident that Karen met Aiden. And because Karen met Aiden, they miscalculated. Okay. This powerful fucking defense intelligence connected family
100%
got played by
Grant. I agree with you. You're right on this.
Yep. They got played by Kay Peter. Yep. When Aiden got involved, they got nervous that Aiden was going to expose their secrets. And frankly, I don't even know if Aiden put all this together. Okay. Because Aiden's really good at what he does, but he's good at what he's focused on, which was the case. He was focused on the facts because that's what Karen and him were talking about. He was not talking about Matt McCabe's intel connections.
I think Aiden
he definitely rattled them. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I want you to go, but I'll just quickly say, and then I want you to go, that I think Aiden was wrapped up in Kate Peter thinking it was all vengeance, thinking it was all about getting back at him. And he wasn't, like you said, like we've said this whole show, so much of this is the forest through the trees. You got to think outside the box. It's not everything that's so obvious. It's all the things on the outside. Go ahead, Ailey.
No, I was going to say that Aiden's presence definitely rattled them because we had some other folks lurking around asking a couple questions about Birchmore. But the second Aiden stepped on scene, the atmosphere shifted in Canton for
Oh,
certain, and everybody was quite scared of him.
oh
Which,
yeah.
yeah,
The atmosphere,
But then
you
you
know, it just went big time. But I mentioned this to you earlier, Grant, and this is something between you and Lindsay, but I would love to meet Lindsay, and I have some questions for her from a social worker's perspective about how she was abused and used by these dirty cops. And I would
yeah,
really love to meet her if she would consider coming on with us one night. I just find what she went through is disgusting, despicable, but I find her to be somewhat
disgusting.
just a complete opposite of what I thought that she was about. And that's why we never ever should judge a book by its cover. Never judge someone until you know the whole complete story, not just what you're being shown on people's channels, because a lot of it is behind the scenes and you don't get to know about it till the time is right. And it's just like this entire, the whole background with Kate Peter and Lindsay. I mean, this is you can't even write screenplays this good. You can't write novels. I mean, some of the most famous literary minds of our time cannot come up or have never come up with a play with this many nefarious characters and criminal actions, all involving the death of one man. But remember, a lot of this was going on before John O'Keefe ever died.
and that's
Sandra,
why they got
Yes.
so, yes, because of Birchmore. I truly believe that's why they got rattled by Aiden, because Aiden may not have realized. And listen, I am not tooting my own horn. I just have an didactic memory, so I
yes, you
can
do.
see all of this in my head, and I still like barely put it together. So anyone who was doing this, I don't care if you're Ted Daniel, Aiden, Brother Council, you, Kat, Edith
Right.
Lee, like it doesn't matter. No one person I don't think was ever going to put it together, even Karen.
It was too
But
much because there was so much going on, Grant, so many pieces and so many people,
and
and they're good
therefore,
at what they do. They're good at being criminals. Let's put it
so
frank.
there,
I mean,
it's the fog of war in reverse.
right.
If everyone else doesn't know a bunch of what's going on, then if you're Kate Peter and Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe and Yuri and Tully and the Norfolk DA, then yes, it's such a ripe, think about it in hindsight. You have a mass movement. Anyone can claim free Karen Reed. Anyone can claim free Turtle Boy.
Right.
Oh yeah, just get them in there. Get them attacking Lindsay. Get them credibility with Turtle Riders. Get them whatever it takes, but make sure that you protect the long-term operation, which is eventually we don't need Turtle Boy anymore. We can discard him and let's use him to fracture Karen's support. Let's make Karen think Turtle Boy's the enemy.
Right.
And by the way, how convenient is it that right after Meredith O'Neill gets Turtle Boy's entire extraction and other damaging stuff, she gets everything she can out of him, and then ends it, goes over to Karen, and then says, "I'm your new best friend."
But listen,
I've
Grant,
seen that one before.
really, you're right, and this is what really pisses me off about the other side of the anti-Karen Reed group, all welcoming Meredith into the fold. It's like, what are you people doing? Just 3 months ago, you were all on your social medias and in your discords and in your little live streams slamming this woman because she was Turtle Boy's girlfriend, and you hate him for whatever reasons that you hate him. His behavior, his personal life is none of your fucking business. Sorry to swear, but you these people haven't been able to separate the difference between work for the actual nefarious criminal activity in Canton, Massachusetts, and someone's personal life and their personality that you don't
They
like.
want that. It's a tactic.
I think,
for them.
yeah,
If the
they
discussion's on
literally
that,
have
they
been,
like it.
yeah, it's distraction, but also if you're in the position, I mean, I think Meredith went into it knowingly, but if you're in the position where you are romantically linked to somebody like Lindsay was, and you don't know the full scope of what's going on, you become a target of some nefarious people. I'm sure they thought that Lindsay had a whole bunch of info about Sandra Birchmore that was trauma dumped on her boyfriend,
Well, I
which
can. I think I can. I think I can explain this. I think what happened was So if you remember the Halloween party in 2023 that Aiden had.
Yes.
I think what happened.
That's a good point, Grant, because that's out there right now with Aiden being accused of not giving Karen the money from the Halloween party fundraiser.
That was the next year. This was the year before.
This year before. Okay.
Yeah, this was the year before. And this is an integral moment in time because it's right around when Kate Peters starts working for Marty Kraft in the fall of 2023. Meredith and Deanna go to the Halloween party. Meredith didn't find Aiden in December when he got jailed, or January. She was there at that Halloween party in October of 2023, prowling like a Meredith.
Trolling.
Yes, she was looking for bait. And then think about it this way. What if Lindsay Gattani was an unaccounted for variable and no one ever expected her to get involved? So the reason everyone from Kate Peters' side hated her from the beginning, why Jen McCabe told her she had to apologize, whatever, it was because they wanted Meredith around him.
Right.
They probably dyed Meredith's hair fucking brunette so she'd fit the role.
We're so right. Lindsay Gattani was definitely not planned. That was just a serendipitous. Those two met, had a fling, whatever they were doing together.
And then Lindsay became an unwitting honeypot. Yes. Where, because Aiden started pillow talking, Tully was like, oh, let's get Aiden into a situation. And I describe it as, in pro wrestling, both parties know it's a work. In boxing, sometimes like Liston Alley 2 up in Lewiston, Maine, only one party knows it's a work. Neither Aiden nor Lindsay knew it was a fucking work. Tully wound Aiden up with the second subpoena, which Aiden got the day after his charges got bound over from Superior Court. That happened December 20th. Lindsay gets a subpoena the 21st. Shocking. Tully tells Lindsay she could tell Aiden about the subpoena. It's probably about Karen and Aiden. Aiden goes over to Lindsay's, wind him up, let him go. That's a classic tactic. Lindsay didn't even know what was happening.
That fits right into this because you brought up Kate Peters working for Marty Kraft again. I saw somebody who posted Brian Albert's business address as being a PI. Is it possible that all along that Kate Peters wasn't just working for Marty Kraft?
They were all working for each other. Brian Albert was connected to Marty Kraft, and then when Kraft lost his license, Brian Albert had his firm. Like all the addresses like go back and they all link up, and then Brian Albert's new PI firm is like the same address, maybe not the same suite, but the same business address as like Jen McCabe's sister or sister-in-law's lawyer. It's all very like obvious. But really, I think the big insight about the PI firm is like the state police don't have the biggest budget in the world. Okay. Even Kraft's like money he was getting from the state, it wasn't a lot. So who's paying him? Now we know. It was probably the McCabes. And this wasn't a small amount of money. I don't know. I don't think that $39 million contract from 2023 was the first one. Why? Because I found an article from 2014 where he had already gotten like 9 government contracts. So this man is wealthy, and he's just hiding in plain sight. Eventually, I don't think we're ever going to see this man again, because what are they going to do now?
What are you talking about? They raised $150,000. No, they're ready for their big stage debut.
Let me just say that was not even in my mind. I saw somebody posted about it, the wonderful KY Maverick, God bless him. He wrote a great Turtle Boy Wizard of Oz story, and he was like, hey, wait a minute, why are people donating their like pizza meals to this multi-millionaire family? Literally. Like, what is going on?
Literally oh gosh.
This is one contract I found. I'm sure if we actually go back like 15 years, we're going to find out that like this was some serious stuff. And this was all what they were worried about coming out. Birchmore's part of it, but this is the real part. Frankly, I don't want to know. I don't want to see the documents about whatever it was that he was doing. But this man is clearly, it's the McCabes, and it's not just the McCabes, it's who they know. They go right to Washington, like clearly right to Washington.
I just want to go back real quick in the chat. Hi, Julia. I think TB and Karen Reed are talking again. That's great if it's true. I would like to see them mend fences if it's possible. I mean, there's just no real reason for all of this craziness to be going on. It completely takes away from what should now be the movement for justice for John O'Keefe. Karen Reed civil case will be interesting. It will drag out for a long time, as we all know. But as you said earlier, Grant, it's bringing out all of this information that has been in the dark, hiding, lurking in the dark of all the nefarious criminal activity that has been going on. And so without the civil case, we wouldn't know a lot of this possibly.
Yeah, and what blew my mind, I'm sure Ida Lee has insights about this as well. We should rightfully think of Alan Jackson and David Yannetti as very smart lawyers. Even still, it is very possible they did not know that Kate Peter and Yuri Buchanan were writing reports about investigating Karen through Marty Kraft's PI firm. Like, that's how good this could have been hidden.
Oh, we sure.
So if we're at that point, then it's not just the civil case. It may be that this whole network was building up to charge Karen again. And they can't do that if Adam Deutsch is going to win the election. That's why everyone's losing their mind on the Kate Peter side.
I don't know who wrote this. I'm trying to find it was Sherry Deer if it was MCAT, but it was a question I've always had all along too, and I'm trying to find it again so I can put it up for you. Let's see here. Well, first of all, Sherry D said, Michael Cox retiring, resigning, GTF out of here. And Kelly Deaver, come forward, save your soul, blow the John O'Keefe. Yes, exactly, Sherry D. There's no doubt in my mind as a former police officer, retired police officer, that Kelly Deaver was manipulated and she lied through her teeth on the stand. I mean, there is not a cop in this universe who doesn't remember the layout of their police department. I can literally write you a map right now of my police department, and it's been remodeled since I left, and I've gone in a couple times and I could still lay it out, because you just don't forget this. You don't forget where you work. Most of you, even if you've never been a cop or a firefighter, you can lay out where you worked. You can lay out a map of where you worked and if there were surveillance cameras and where they were. So for her to get on that stand and lie like that and expect all of us to be stupid and expect the jury to be stupid and believe her that she couldn't remember where the surveillance cameras are. And then of course her whole false memory thing. It was just that whole testimony to me, for me as a former police officer, is the most surreal of any of it. And it will always be in my mind. And so that the nefarious
I think part of the problem with that testimony, a lot of it, the false memories, it's not evidence-based science. It is it's kind of snake oil. It's that's sold as science in the courtroom. And a lot of times, if you look up cases it's used to discredit victims. The notion of false memory. And the judge ultimately is the gatekeeper of what is allowed in for evidence. Does this meet the rigorous criteria we have set forth to even be presented as an option, as a theory? I think it's Lanigan, is it Dauber Lanigan standard? How that is being how that's being applied across Norfolk County actually is concerning. And actually in Massachusetts, that standard was adopted for DNA evidence in a child rape case. So
it is very dangerous the way false memories are invoked, even with rape shield laws, which is 412, the special rules of evidence. Like, it's not as good as people think. And now taking it out of the context where it's weaponized, bringing it back into Devers just like calling it a false memory. I don't know if anyone thinks that what Kelly Devers saw at 1:30 in the morning between Berkowitz and Higgins actually has to do with whatever the hell was going on. I think the implications are that Berkowitz and Higgins were friendly. Is that wrong? No.
Wait, what do you mean about 1:30 in the morning? Because she wouldn't have seen them at 1:30 in the morning, because Karen's Karen's car wouldn't have been there at 1:30 in the morning.
That was the whole point. She saw them on Sallyport. So her work schedule was 12 p.m. noon the day before to 8 p.m. and then a double. So then the 8 to 4, which she stayed late on.
She
saw them when he moved his Jeep. You remember he had to move his Jeep. Her car, Karen's car, was not brought there until later in the day. Higgins left his personal vehicle at the Canton Police Department. And his excuse, which makes no sense. Although I'm sure under policy, there's some written policy where it makes sense. His excuse was they were plowing the parking lot at 1:30 in the morning before he goes home. They were plowing the parking lot of the Canton PD. So he had to go there, move his personal
vehicle.
That
never happened because we saw the video. There was no plowing going on in the Canton.
Right, but his excuse, this was his testimony.
Right.
Whatever we think about what he was doing there, this is what I'm trying to get at. He says on the record, I had to go there because my personal vehicle was there. They were plowing it, and the policy was if they were going to plow the lot, I had to move the personal vehicle. Fine, whatever. We don't know. It doesn't seem that way, but that's what he said.
Right.
Dever, this is the key point about Dever. Dever's doing a double. When he comes to move his car, there is a weird, you can look at the testimony to get the exact timestamp. Don't take my word that it's 1:30. Yeah. It's around there. There is a weird situation when Karen's car is nowhere. Karen's car is at Meadows Ave with Karen.
Right.
Higgins and Berkowitz are at the station.
In the middle of the night. Together.
In the middle of the night. I'm not kidding you. I'm being 100%.
What is a very ill, dying, rest in peace, Berkowitz, but I wish you would have told the truth before you died. What are you doing?
Well, he may have about Sandra.
Right. What are you doing at the PD in the middle of the night during a blizzard?
Oh, but by the way,
what is he there for?
We'll get to Ken Berkowitz eventually, potentially going to the FBI about the Sandra Birchmore cover-up, but that happens later.
Right.
So maybe something he didn't like was going on. But my point is, this had nothing to do with Karen's car. He was there independent of any of this.
Right.
To see Berkowitz. Why is the chief of the Canton Police at 1:30 in the morning in the department, in a snowstorm, while an undercover ATF agent is moving his personal vehicle? And then why do those two? This is why I know Alan Jackson was trying hard to not be mean, but he came very close to being a little mean because he was straight up like, what were they doing at 1:30 in the morning? Didn't you tell me you saw them on camera at 1:30 in the morning
for a wildly long time, for a wildly long period of time.
And she was like, no, I didn't. You threatened me with perjury. And he was like, yeah, because you told me that you saw them at 1:30 in the morning. And she was like, no, I didn't. And that's what FBI agent Kelleher is talking to Commissioner Cox about. And then Cox calls Devers in the next day. I know exactly what went down there. He told her it wasn't about the case. It was about Berkowitz and Higgins. You're not going to say you saw them there alone. But she had
to. Go over that again. I'll clip it and have it ready the next time we meet, because it's a very important part of this case. There's absolutely no question about it. There is no reason in the world why Berkowitz, who's on leave of absence, family medical leave for his, he was very ill at the time, would be there. It makes no logical sense.
Right. And the only conclusion is that Dever and Katie McLaughlin had this happen to her too. Both of them got too close to a situation that, although it wasn't direct, would have exposed people to questions. And again, that's not even, I don't even think the sex lives of these people is what's relevant here. What's relevant is the way power does that. You are not supposed to, as the chief of this or that undercover agent, if you've ever seen Eyes Wide Shut, that is why when they have the Christmas party, they all wear their nice suits, They do not have sex in the ballroom. They go upstairs into the bathroom. When they
Exactly.
have their masked party where
Or
nobody
guest
knows
rooms.
who, yes, but when they have their masked party at the weird mansion where nobody knows who anybody is, they are having sex on people in the middle of the foyer and just watching each other. Why do you? But that is what we're dealing with here. It's
And if
classic
people don't think
distinction.
this kind of stuff goes on, it does go on.
It's real.
I read an article about an area up in Jacksonville, north of me, where there's a warehouse that gets rented by swingers, and they have these parties and they invite people via a website that's similar to Discord. And that's how they spread word, and you have to apply to be able to come to these parties, and they actually seek out, like they'll tell you what they're seeking out. We're seeking out single women, or we're seeking out single men because we don't have enough couples, or we're just
but that's
for this party.
That's
this
a degraded that's
everywhere.
a degraded it's a degraded form of it, as scary as this is.
Yeah.
Because if you were very wealthy, you wouldn't advertise. You would know Dr. Bill, Dr. Joe, Chief of Police, DA, and every single one of them. Now, is it real? I think Kubrick was both telling a real story with Eyes Wide Shut and trying to use an analogy. Do they literally like wear bird masks? I hope not. Like, I think that's a little fucking weird. I think it's more likely the idea that when they're in those spaces, like what happens here stays here. They might call it like weaving spiders, like come not here or something. But the point is, you don't talk about that part. This case exposed that and more.
Mm-hmm. But again, consenting adults doing whatever they want to do. It might not be my cup of tea. I might never ever engage in any of this kind of behavior, but I don't judge them if it's consenting adults, if there's no criminality involved. Like,
yeah, but we can't miss
that's all criminal.
Sure, but we can't miss the morality of it. And maybe Ida understands it better because she's closer to Canton. It's not like judging, but it's like the mask we have in society. Like, why do we bother putting on a version of ourselves? Why do we bother keeping up airs or putting on airs? It's not because like there is going to be judgment by individual people. It's that our society expects us to have that version of ourselves out there. So these people aren't embarrassed per se because they feel they're going to be morally judged. They're embarrassed because they broke the rules. They don't look at us like they look at themselves. They are not commoners. Like, they're not exposed to that level of discussion. That is reserved for the regular, like not the regular people. Like, that's just not for them. So then you talk about the defense intelligence establishment and a lot of money. Canton is not what it seems. And the people who get taken advantage of, Sandra Birchmore, people like Ida Lee, the people who cannot even conceptualize how this kind of power would function. So when it bears down on them, they think they're crazy. In reality, they're up against
crazy making is what you get exposed to after that, is all these power structures convene together to protect one another, and they perpetuate crazy making behavior against you. Whether it's entangling you in fraudulent legal proceedings, or cornering your partner, or messing with your kids, things like that, that in the moment they are like microaggressions that you can't quite understand what's going on if you haven't been exposed to it before. So as you're trying to triage that situation, they're already planning the next attack a little further down the line. And it's not even about, like Grant said, it's not even about like their choice of extracurriculars, but it's for me, it's how it bled over into the schools. With the resource officers and that kind of thing. I don't care about info gathering and intelligence in the public school. Like, stay away from my kids, because this actually isn't providing them more safety, accessibility to education, the things that are supposed to happen in schools and kid-centric environments. And I think a
Yeah,
piece of that is
I don't.
accountability too.
Yeah, I
Yes,
don't see any
well said, Ida Lee.
Exactly. I don't see any legitimate intelligence gathering purpose in grooming young girls through the Police Explorer program into brothels. Now, if someone has one, I'm not willing to listen.
I was just about to say, sexual deviancy can lead to criminality. If you're a consenting adult and you prescribe to sexual deviancy, whether it be, these orgies or whatever they, like they called them in the 60s and 70s, or these swinging parties or whatever it is, that again, if it's consenting adults only, it might not be my ethics, it might not be my morality, but is it against the law? But sometimes sexual deviancy can melt and bleed into becoming criminal. Or like in the case of the Stoughton Police Department, these men are sexually deviant, and their sexual deviancy
Absolutely.
did not stay within the realm of legality. It bled out into criminality by SA with young girls. And by
I think a
See
lot
how
of
it connects?
times people that have proclivities of that nature are going to go toward where they have vulnerable populations of individuals they can utilize for those purposes. And I think a huge piece of this that, I think a lot of people are scared of. I definitely have scared a few people trying to talk about the infrastructure pitfalls where we need to kind of triage policy, protocol, procedure, and things of that nature that help prevent these situations. But I think that is a hard conversation to have for a lot of people because, the first step is admitting you have a problem,
right.
And what
and
if we're
nobody.
dealing?
But
Yeah, what
most
if
of these
we're?
people that are committing crimes like Grant, like we're talking about with Sandra Bertrand with the grooming, they're never going to admit they have a problem, because not only are they sexually deviant, but they're sociopathic. And
Well,
so
that's
Oh
what
yeah.
you're
that's what
dealing
I'm
with
worried about.
you're
That
dealing
you're
with
dealing.
comodalities, and it's and dangerous. I mean, look at what happened. I mean, for years, come here, Tanner. For
Well,
years,
it's insatiable,
right.
because that's what I'm worried about. That I don't care what
It
people's.
can lead to unaliving as well, because if they
Oh
feel
yeah.
threatened, as you saw
Sure.
with Sandra Birchmore, for years they groomed her. They
Yes.
were never going to unalive her, as far as we know. They were going to just continue to use her and groom her, and then eventually just get rid of her. But because she started to grow up and she was pushing back and making her own threats, as we know from her diary, making her own threats. If you don't do this,
Good
I'm going to,
for her.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, good for her. I hate it that she had to die, but I'm so glad that she was able to threaten them and scare them. I
Yeah.
just wish that it could have been caught in time to prevent her own unaliving.
Yeah.
That's what's, and here's the scary part, is that I don't think she believed she was in that kind of danger completely.
She
I
did.
No.
She did. I think she did, because she got
do,
threatened specifically by a third party. Now, I don't think she knew that the
but it might not
baby.
have sunk in all the way, right?
Oh,
Like
sure.
we can all feel, like, I know Ida Lee has felt fear from these people. I know you have
Mhm.
felt fear. I have felt fear. I have had I've had some threats from some of the cases I've worked on. But yet I guess I'm a little complacent. I don't believe anyone's going to come and unalive me because I'm a victim advocate, because I'm a justice seeker. But could that happen? Yes, it could happen. Journalists are unalived all over the world. It happens all the time.
Have you
And
ever looked into the
Mhm.
case of Michael Hastings from Rolling Stone? He was covering General Petraeus,
that's
and
right.
Petraeus leaked. This is why. All right, I am relatively. I talked to the people I need to talk to, and they were like, "You're fine." If I thought this was a problem, first of all, I wouldn't expose either of you to it, and I would just stop talking about it. But apparently, I'm fine, so that's good. But anyway, the point is, Michael Hastings of Rolling Stone was covering David Petraeus. They I don't know what he found, but he was driving his car. It accelerated to like 130 miles an hour and hit a tree. That's how they'll do you. Or they'll overdose you, or they'll drunk driving accident where someone else hits you, or whatever the fuck.
Or you'll just get run over in the street. I mean, that happens too, that they'll make it look like it was an accident. They won't make it look like you were M-worded. It will make it look like you died in an accident.
But one of the most
I think it's different when you have somebody like Sandra, though. When you've started a relationship with one of these individuals when you're young, you're trusting probably to a very naive extent. I mean, when that IA report came out, the people that, I reached out to, I look back that it wasn't the safest move I've ever made. But at the time, I had been conditioned to feel these were safe people, these were protectors. And you can't conceptualize that they would act in a way that would put you at risk. So even if she was engaging in stuff that maybe was risky or this or that, I'm sure she felt to some level like, oh, this man loves me, he's protected me, and he will continue to do so.
You are so right, Idalie. And this is like so many victims, though, they're trauma bonded, like in the Epstein situation with these girls that, people say, well, why didn't they run away? Or why didn't they tell sooner? I mean, first of all, you have to release that bond you have with that person, even if it wasn't healthy, because somehow you've been brainwashed into thinking this is what you deserve. You wanted to be a model, or you ran away from home, or like you said, they target the vulnerable. And in Sandra Birchmore's case, they targeted her. It was, clearly because she came from a family that had, her mother wasn't well, and she didn't have a father figure in the home, and all these things that they look for when they target young girls or young boys. And it's again, it's despicable. There's something wrong in their brains that just cannot be fixed. And they got away with it for all those years.
But that's why they used Farwell to do it, because it wasn't just Farwell that wanted Sandra dead. There was the larger group that was preying on these girls. They knew Sandra would trust him to let him in. And then the more scary thing is the pathology of this. Maybe to drill down on what I think is causing this, it's not the sexual proclivities, or drugs or anything like that. It's chasing something that makes you feel like other people can't have it. It's like, I hate to compare it. I'm trying to understand the pathology. I'm not gratuitously making this comparison. If you are at a concert and there's 40,000 people in line, and then there's 10 people who just walk up and get let in, you're going to be like, oh, that's really cool. It's that same concept. These people chase it. I don't know why. I don't understand it. What the fuck?
It's
why would you do that?
Corrupt version of the Cool Kids Club. It's just the larger, corrupt, nefarious.
Yeah, but it's so much worse. Because if you're in the Cool Kids Club, that's no different than doing cocaine. Okay. It's just your serotonin making you feel like you're better than other people.
Right.
It's different when you're like, oh, one example would be like, I'm going to go bully a vulnerable kid because I'm in that. That's taking it over the line into action. What's worse is you being like, and I guess it's an advanced form of bullying if you really want to pathologize it, being like, okay, that's a
it's an advanced form of probably how they behaved as children, because 100%. They were already acting out and behaving poorly as children. Then
they find the people who not only don't understand the system but can't use their voice. No one would even notice if they go missing. Do you know the homicide clear rate? It's what is it, like 20%?
It's 50? It's 50%.
Well, yeah, but how many of those?
Look at all the cities. I mean, every city is a little different, but the overall average, I believe, is 50%. But that's
of reported murders. Reported M's.
Yeah. Right. But then you've got your missing. So like the case I've got here in Florida with Sarah Ebersol, she's missing, and we obviously believe she was M-worded, but that she's not in the statistics of a homicide victim in Ocala, or the county of Marion County, because she's still missing and the case has never been solved. But she most certainly was unalived.
What's the point of a homicide? Like, from the perspective of these really crafty people, what's the point of a homicide if people know about it? You did not do a good homicide if people know about it. So like, I don't understand why we have this system. I think people are expendable. Unfortunately, that's the reality. We have a system that is a machine that looks at most people as expendable. Why? I think, like, when we have conversations, we're like, okay, like, we're all people, so we all matter. But that's not how the system thinks of us. You have to really fucking earn your keep if you want to be taken seriously in that system, or they're going to fucking eat you alive, and they're not going to care. They're going to, I'm using this metaphorically, but it's vulgar on purpose. They're going to piss on you and be like, what are you going to fucking do about it?
But it's the same in the medical industry as well. Look at how many people die that should never have died because they didn't have proper insurance, or the doctors didn't listen to them about their symptoms. They didn't get them in time for diagnosis.
It's a brutal form of power. It's a brutal form of power that looks at human life. I don't know.
They're both reactionary approaches. Like what you're both talking about here are, in terms of medical care, somebody's, in dire need, or the power structure bearing down. These are kind of reactionary situations where it hyper focuses on individual incidents like Sandra or myself or somebody, instead of being able to step back and holistically like look at the greater problem and being able to say, okay, what about these circumstances allowed this to happen, rather
what
than
if it's not a problem? What if it's built for this? We really all have to sit around. I hate.
Oh, it is. Norfolk County is. I mean, the
not
Salem.
Even Norfolk County. What if? What exactly? Salem witch trials. What if the entire edifice of this country is built on these small groups of very powerful people looking at the rest of us like fucking cattle? And just being like, fuck them.
100% right, because the crime in Massachusetts is not in a silo. It's happening in every state in America. It's just not being called out. There's just not a lot of grassroots journalists and grassroots live streamers out there to do it. And a great example of this is when I met Ed Byers, who's a former law enforcement officer in Indiana. He met because he saw the Karen Reed things that we were doing, and he came on the channel several times now and told us about the absolute criminality going on in Clark County, Indiana, and how they insulated themselves above with politicians and below with underlings, threatening the underlings, if you do this, we'll fire you, or you'll be ruined, you'll never work in law.
Cook County.
Clark County, yes, Clark County, Indiana.
Yeah. Not just that, there's another one.
And there's another
Illinois.
one too. You're right. There is. And then there's, and so Ed is actually running for sheriff. He came out of retirement because he found out that the guy Jamie Knowles, the guy who ended up finally getting convicted of white collar crimes, there was no M words involved here in this situation. It was all white collar, but very bad white collar, like embezzling millions and millions of dollars over the course of 20 years while he was the sheriff, and running an ambulance company on the side, his wife and his daughter, and embezzling money from this ambulance company. So they didn't have enough ambulances to go out and save people's lives. So people did die on his watch. But after it was all said and done, when it was finally brought out, the group that was trying to call out the corruption was getting threatened. People were coming to his home and threatening his family, and they kept on. They didn't give up, just like what you saw. But
it's not a bug. The problem is it's not a bug. It's a feature. Like, I don't know if people really realize like the extent of this. No one cares about most of the people who go missing. No one cares about the trafficked children. Like, no one cares. And we make these like,
what about the boy who was run down by a car in the Murdoch that's coming out now, that it could possibly be that was involved in the Murdoch case, that he was a friend of one of the boys, and that I think it makes total sense that he was M-worded by someone in the Murdoch family because he knew something he wasn't supposed to know.
Yeah, and you can go back to the Lindbergh baby, who Charles Lindbergh did not want because he was mentally disabled. Okay, like it's been the case forever, but unfortunately, we have to do it for some cases. Like, we have to grandstand on purpose with authenticity about Sandra Birchmore's case, because it was that wrong. Yeah. But do you know what it would do to anyone anyone, if you had to go around to every missing persons case, every homicide, every SA case, and then try to make it a cause celebre, that's what I don't know if that's why I think I don't want to give anyone false hope that there is a systemic solution to any of this, because it is entrenched in everything.
It is.
And just because we don't talk about the lodges and we don't talk about like the way that they shake hands or how they know who each other are or how sexist they are or how they don't allow women. Have you ever been to some of the social clubs in Boston? You know, I was
racist. Don't leave out racist, because there was a viral video that went out either yesterday or the day before. This man in Atlanta, Georgia, was going into a government building and harassing Black employees, I guess, for quite a few weeks. And they kicked him out today or yesterday. And he was calling the security officer the N-word right out loud. It's someone recorded it. So, I mean, we're dealing with sexism, racism, everything you can imagine. If you're not in the what someone considers the right race or the right religion, you are lower than. I mean, we're dealing with that everywhere.
I'll give you a perfect example that sums up almost everything we talked about tonight, which is, so I was walking through this alley. It's down near Suffolk or Emerson. It's by the MBTA building, the DOT building downtown. There's this nice little quaint alley. You wouldn't think much of it if you were just wandering near the common. But right when you walk out of the door of the the DOT building on your left as you enter this alley, it kind of looks like Diagon Alley from Harry Potter. It's kind of cool. Right to the left, you're going to see a small brick building. It's like 3 stories tall. It has a black gate on the front. There's a very prominent no smoking near the entrance sign. That is the oldest social club in Boston. Now, most people are not going to know what I'm about to tell you, because you'd either have to be really interested in this or know something you shouldn't. So that club has certain rules. 1, it's all men. 2, they wear like fucking top hats or something. It's weird as fuck. And it's something to do with not pigs, but like they have like roasts, like dinners. It's like a theater / dinner club ostensibly, but really it gets way worse. Women are only allowed in to be like maids. They must literally dress in aprons and like weird bonnets, and they must serve the men. And it's like very designed to be like very explicitly like sexist, like embraced as sexism. The women make like $400,000 a year.
More than a bottle girl.
Yes. Okay. Nobody says anything about, you've never heard of this. I swear to God, you will never see a whistleblower from there. This does not exist as far as anyone. That is what interests me. But what interests me about it is not that they do it. It's that they're so fucking pompous that they think that they can use this brain, which everybody can have access to. I'm sorry. Everybody can read. You want to fucking spend 10 years fucking reading, you can do this. I'm sorry. That's all it is. I'm not a superhuman. I just read a lot. Okay.
Yes.
So therefore, these pompous fucking assholes think that because they understand philosophy and crowd psychology and politics and money, that they're going to go out there and just be like, you all can't see behind the curtain. No, go fuck yourself. Welcome to the digital era. And that's embodied in Canton. Like, they're fucked.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they are not the Boston power structure. I'm telling you, I would have ran 50. If I felt that I was up against anyone who was in those kind of clubs, the clubs that rejected JFK, I'd be like, I'm not fucking with those people. Like, it's
more than that though, Grant, because like you're talking about like the wizard behind the curtain. When I started asking pretty basic questions about things that were my tax dollars were going to, like the school equity audit, I was a thorn in the superintendent's side because I knew what those equity audit results were going to say. And I was I was low-key harassing him about it. And asking about the MOUs with the police department and things like that, like where is this stuff spelled out in your contracts? That was very triggering to a lot of these powerful men in Canton. And it was basic stuff that actually is publicly available on the town website. I was just
You
emailing
would
for
really,
courtesy and to coordinate solutions, but just me even knowing what to ask for was triggering for these powerful men.
you would love Diana DeZoglio, who I am proud to call my towel friend.
I do.
Did you know she agreed on Twitter to participate in a Lincoln Douglas debate moderated by me and Jim Browdy with the Attorney General about the audit the legislature law. Jim Browdy, who has been my friend for like 30 years, by the way.
That's amazing.
Jim just comes over sometimes. I'm like, Jim, why are you here? And he's like, oh, Wendy's saying this is. I'm like, oh, all right, Jim. And then just go with Jim Browdy's just in my kitchen. All right, Jim, have a good day. I try to be friendly.
Oh,
Anyway, he's a great guy. But the point is,
I have a question real quick. Sorry, I just want to interrupt for 2 seconds because I've tried to. I like to keep up with our live people that are here with us because I appreciate the Friend Zone so much. Julia says, "Who gave Howie the story about Marty spying on Karen?" I tried to sneak that in when we were still talking about Marty Kraft, but we got going when Ida Lee came
Isn't the better question who gave me that story, seeing as I reported it like 60 days ago?
Exactly.
Like I'm proud of Howie Carr, but like,
but of course,
maybe he read my reporting and then tried to find out if it was right, which is, normally.
So who gave you the story about Marty spying on Karen? Or can you not divulge your source?
Oh, I don't talk sources and methods. I learned from Seymour Hersh. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
One time I met some guy who was like, hi, like I just met him online. He was like, I used to go to lunch with Edward Bernays in Cambridge. Want me to tell you about it? And I was like, yes, I would love you to tell me about that. I meet very interesting people. Anyway, I want to go back to Diana DeZoglio, who I feel like she's my friend. I feel like I used to go around like telling stories about like people I would run into, and I'd be like, they're my friend. And they're like, no, they are not your friend. Yes, they are. Anyway, my point is Diana DeZoglio is a wonderful human. And you will identify with her, Italy, because when she was Senator DeZoglio, she ran into non-disclosure agreements in the legislature. And if you've ever looked into this issue, it prevented women from talking about what very powerful men did to them.
Yes.
It was routine across state government. Well, Diana DeZoglio, as a senator, basically led an uprising in one of the most difficult arenas you can imagine, Beacon Hill, and got them to stop doing this for the most part, stopped statewide the use of these these NDAs. I'm not saying that we don't still see some, but she basically stopped it. Now,
beautiful.
She then led an insurgent primary campaign for auditor because she was so mad at Beacon Hill for what they were doing. I was a delegate at the convention when she ran for the auditor as a in the primary. I supported her because I thought the power structure was trying to sandbag her with this random guy who wasn't up to the job. So anyway, the point is she wins auditor, immediately tries to audit the legislature. They won't let her. So she goes to the voters and gets a 72% voter initiative pass to audit the legislature. That is power. So I'm telling you, you got to meet Diana DeZoglio, Italy. You'll be all about her. And she, like, you want to talk about a mover and a shaker? We fight these battles sometimes and we don't realize, like, 1 in 100, you get someone like Diana DeZoglio who doesn't just fight a battle, but is like, I'm going to reform the Constitution. Just try to stop me.
I would. How did you meet her, Grant? I would love to meet her. She sounds.
How did I originally meet? Let's see. How did I cross paths with her? I don't know if I've actually met her. I did meet her one time at a winery. I was too afraid to go up and say hi. She was she intimidates me because she's smarter than me. anyone who's smarter than me, I'd just like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do in your presence. But anyway, the point is, I did meet her at a winery one time, although I don't know if I actually said hi. Anyway, that's not really relevant to the point. I think she was, what was she doing? She was a senator in like 2019 or 2020. And I think I knew about her because Senator Sonia Chang Diaz submitted budget amendments 867 and 868 to the FY 2020 budget. And I wanted
There you go again, blowing our minds with all the numbers that you remember from years ago.
These were very important budget amendments. My point is,
most people don't remember these things from that far away. But just so you know, too, I put this up because when you were talking about her plight of not being able to call out improper activity going on with senators and aides and other women in the field of government. This was something that came out this week. The Idaho 4 parents are suing Washington State for not removing BK after many complaints of his behavior. Apparently, there are many complaints than anyone ever knew about since it never went to trial. We never found out a lot of this.
Yes, I saw some of those documents. And the point is,
Brian Enton did like a full story on it. I know you're busy, but it's fascinating. And he read all 120 some odd pages of the complaint. And apparently there are so many complaints that were made about his nefarious behavior and his creepy, that's what, to use the in quotes that the people use, creepy behavior. One of the other grad assistants said that he would close the door and stand in front of it and engage her in conversation, making it impossible for her to leave because people didn't want to hang around with him. People didn't want to converse with him because he was scary and creepy and out of line with a lot of his conversations. And he frightened women. And what the hell? I mean, we're putting the rights of a student, a male, in this case, male student, over the rights of potential victims. I mean, it's really crazy.
But it's the exact same thing that, like you said, Diana ran into in the legislature. Exactly. So when she was just up there as a senator, imagine how you would feel. I am the most powerful person in this state, quote unquote. I make the laws. I get to say budget amendments go, or that was my point. She was already deciding powerful things. And she couldn't do anything about the NDAs. How would you feel if you were one of Koberger's colleagues and he was doing this and you were complaining and then you find out he committed a quadruple M? That's horrifying.
Can you imagine how these people felt? Can you actually feel? I mean, here they, like you said, they were trying to warn the administration that there's something wrong with this guy. He's not thinking straight. He's got issues. He's got problems. He's off the chain. One of the ladies' complaints was that he would literally also basically like walk right up to her desk and stand in front of her desk so that she couldn't like stand in front of her chair where she was sitting behind her desk, like posture her and start lecturing her about Ted Bundy and the case and asking her opinion on it. And he'd be like this close. Like if this is my office chair, it would be like if a man who was one of my colleagues stood here and put his foot behind the wheel of my chair. And he was doing this constantly, not just standing in front of doors and blocking women in their chairs from leaving their offices so he could lecture them about his thoughts on crimes. I mean,
it was the TED. Where's the leadership? Where is the leadership that is supposed to be stopping those incidents from happening? Like, even if you look at the Sandra Birchmore stuff, like that resource officer, there's currently another case with the Stoughton Public Schools and that resource officer. This Jane Doe was sexually assaulted. And they did nothing to protect this minor child just trying to receive an education from her abuser. It's stunning because this happened post Sandra.
Right? Exactly. I mean, and we have all these other examples. We have the gymnastic teams where Jim Jordan was, involved with the coach. And I am that one. He's still walking around free and clear. And I actually met Jim Jordan. He was a wrestler at the University of Wisconsin.
Ugh.
I went to college with him. I was a university cheerleader. I knew casually his wife, casually met her at one time back in college. I doubt she'll remember me, but his nefarious and criminal behavior and still being allowed to be in the government is despicable.
Yep.
And
hold on, he's not just in the government. I just want to let you know he is the chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. So good luck. They couldn't even take Matt Gaetz down. Good luck trying to take Jim Jordan down. But I want to make
Gaetz. People don't even know the half of Matt Gaetz. Only people who live in Florida. And I was living in Florida at the time when it first broke. His connection with the auditor, the tax auditor over in the county near Tampa. I forgot the name of the county that he was in, but he's in jail now. He actually did go to jail, but Matt Gaetz was part of the whole thing. They were best friends. They were photographed and videoed at parties together with underage girls. And because of the power and the connection to the Republican Party, or it could be the Democratic Party. It doesn't matter. I'm a bipartisan channel, but in this case, Matt Gaetz is a Republican. He was protected by the Florida Republicans and by, guess who? Pam, you know who. I won't talk about her. Don't get me started. Where she's at in her level of power. We don't even realize how many criminals we have in elected office right now.
Right, but can we even critique it? That's what I get so worried about. Because think about Alex Acosta. I don't know if you all know this name, Alex Acosta, former labor secretary, federal prosecutor in Florida in 2008. So imagine you're Alex Acosta and you got a really fucking good case on Jeffrey Epstein. Really good. You're going to nail this bastard to the wall, and you want to because you care about the underage children he's hurting. All right, you got the grand jury up and running. Everything's all ready. You're gonna rail this guy. Then all of a sudden, some guy in a suit, maybe he looks like me. Maybe he looks like somebody else.
Nice suit, by the way, Grant. I meant to tell you that earlier. You look fantastic.
Thank you. But yeah, maybe some guy in a suit, smiley, nice guy. He wants to have a coffee, comes into your office, and he says, Mr. Acosta, you got a good case, but Epstein's intel. And that's the end of the conversation. The guy gets up and leaves the room. He doesn't tell you what to do. He doesn't tell you anything else. Some guy has just come into your office as a federal prosecutor. You didn't let him in. He showed up. He doesn't tell you who he's with, doesn't tell you how he got there. And the only thing he says to you is, Mr. Acosta, Epstein is intel. And then he leaves. That's exactly what happened to Alex Acosta. What do? Are you supposed to say as a federal prosecutor, yes, I'm going to override the judgment of the intelligence community and go forward with the prosecution, even though we might be using this guy to do X, Y, or Z? You don't know. They didn't read you in. All they told you was Epstein's intel, back off. That's what happens more than people realize. It's not just intel. It's that kind of conversation. It's like you touched on something you shouldn't. Stop. And you have to figure out, are they telling me not to because it's corruption? Are they telling me not to because I just stumbled onto national security? Are they telling me not to because it's for the good of the country? And you oftentimes are not going to get the why. You're going to get a back off, and you have to figure out the why. That's what's scary about it. And that's why I say I'm not saying be careful with the critique, but it's not always as black and white as like the Stoughton situation where, yes, that school resource officer, like there's documents, he brought somebody into like a changing room, took their clothes off, somebody saw it, nobody did anything. That's different. This is more like somebody comes to you and says, you stumbled onto something you don't understand, don't get involved. And it's not a threat. It's the government saying, we need that person. What do? How do you even approach that?
Right.
You run.
The
You run.
is so high up, and it's so serendipitous that you brought us full circle, because I started this live stream off tonight explaining to everybody that when I sign up with the families to volunteer to help them with their loved one's case that's unsolved or cold, I always tell them that I'm going to look at it from a journalistic perspective, because that's my undergrad. That was my original career, is the who, what, where, when, why, how. And it's how police look at investigations. It's how Grant does his job as a journalist. Lawyers look at cases this way. And most of the time we can figure out everything but the why. In these unsolved cases, in these cold cases, the reason why we don't have the evidence is because we don't have the why. You have to have the why, because the why is motive. And you have to have motive. And so thank you, Grant, for bringing like everything we talked about full circle tonight. This was an amazing discussion with you and Ida Lee. Thank you so much. I wanted to introduce you, Grant, but I was going to wait till the next one around. I wasn't sure how available you were right now with your kids just going back to school. And but then when we started talking about Sandra Birchmore, and I know how passionate you are and how many standouts you've done and how much heat you've taken for what you did to try to protect Sandra and try to get the truth out there, I thought, let me text her. I want her to come on tonight with Grant and I so bad. So I hope the three of us can convene again. I love talking with both of you so much. You bring me like a sense of happiness that I don't get most of the time working on all of these different cases, because there's so much sadness. And that's why I get so up in my feelings and so upset with all of these hidden stupid accounts on Twitter X and social media, and these crazy feuds going on between anti-Karen Reed and free Karen Reed, and that one is more understandable, but the feuding in-house is completely ludicrous to me, because the main objective is justice for Sandra Birchmore, getting the right people arrested and put in jail and awaiting trial, like we have with Matthew Farwell, like everybody that continued to protest and continued to stand out. And now Karen Reed is free, and now she's dealing with civil. That's a whole different animal. But John O'Keefe is still dead, and he deserves the most respect. He doesn't deserve this infighting and this constant trashing. And what Meredith is doing is utterly disgraceful to me. And if you're warming her in and you're letting her live stream with you, I can't talk to you right now, because I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can say that you want justice for John O'Keefe while you're continuing to participate in this vile, less than school children's behavior. School children don't even behave this badly as all of you have been behaving with your John Barron accounts and your this account and your that account, and hiding behind fake faces and fake names and disparaging people and making fun of people and trying to take people's channels off the air. Who in the fuck do you all think you are? You are not anybody that important.
They're doing it on purpose. Don't mistake the moral incredulity. You are rightfully morally incredulous, but don't mistake your good faith interpretation of their behavior with their motive. Their motive is not coming from a place just of moral abhorrence. If that were it, that would almost not be as bad. If they were just trolling to be morally gross, they're doing it for a purpose, which is to get people close to Karen under the auspices of making Karen think that Turtle Boy's the enemy. Those people hate Turtle Boy, therefore Karen should talk to them. It's obvious. But if you don't say it as a logical syllogism, someone like Meredith will blend right in. Karen put out a message the other day with Meredith's name attached. And if there's too much noise, if there's too much cacophony and chaos, Karen's not going to see that Meredith is playing Karen. And that's why it's so important that people talk about it, not because of the moral abhorrence, which you're right about, but they know that. They know that that's a lightning rod, the gratuitous, gross tactics. As long as you're talking about
I think
that,
it keeps
and
everybody
why
not
they're
talking
doing
about the connections in Canton, you know,
Right.
like Meredith, not from Canton. This is entirely bound up into the Canton connections. And when we're talking about, you know, some guy in Indiana's live stream drama that they orchestrated months in advance, it completely, you know, Meredith's ex-boyfriend not from here that might have been in a police report 7 years ago, but we're still not talking about the one from
who knows James Galanis for some reason.
Oh yeah, no, they're best buds from high school. Good old James. Where's he? Is he gonna do his job?
What should have wrapped it up for so many people before Meredith and Turtle Boy ever broke up, before Aiden and Meredith ever broke up, was her behavior at that wedding. And I believe it was one of Aiden's former friend's wedding, or maybe it was not a former girlfriend, maybe it was just a friend, but it was the wedding of one of the gals that is close to the movement. And they were absolutely being just vile and calling Etsy names, making fun of her, and they then started an entire social media campaign against her. They had a Twitter account making fun of her weight and her smile and her dancing and everything she's done. And they didn't even know her before Karen Reed. Etsy was involved in political activism way before John O'Keefe ever died, way before Sandra Birchmore ever died. So they literally,
it's convenient. She was a convenient distraction in the moment and expendable.
Exactly. And look at how they just globbed onto that. Look at how easily. Do people not see how easily they are just turned into sheep? Don't people?
No, they don't see. They don't see it because if you know what's actually
watching, I'm sorry what you went through. I appreciate everything you've ever done for your community, and you're a great example of what community involvement looks like down to the grassroots level of attending city council meetings and school board meetings and such. And it doesn't show limelight on you when you go to these meetings, because these are the smaller governmental arms of government at our level of city council, or whatever you might call it in your town, select board in Canton, and your school boards, very important, government branches in your local school systems. But you don't get a lot of credit for the work you do there. But Etsy was doing this kind of work way before she ever connected with Karen Reed. And she's just a passionate soul. And what I loved about her is that when she made some mistakes, when she got a little bit up in her head about it and maybe got a little bit too, oh God, I'm in the cool club, she admitted it and she apologized to people, and she's a human. And so for those of you that went after her just because Meredith told you to, shame on you. You should all be ashamed of yourself.
That's not why. This is what I was going to say. No one would have ever put it together. But if you knew Deanna Corby's email address had PI in it, don't you think that would change your perspective? You know who else was at that October 2023 party? Deanna Corby.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. It was her wedding.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the Halloween party, the infamous.
Oh, yes, of course, right.
This is the most obvious long-term operation I've ever seen. These people have been making, in my opinion, good money on this shit.
Who's paying all these people, by the way, Grant?
You
have a fan, Grant. Trey in 444. Is Grant done? I still want to hear Grant.
No.
Yes, we all love hearing Grant.
No,
but
no.
I have to talk a little bit, Trey. We got.
I was going to say no. If anything, I want to hear more from Ida Lee. The only, just to be clear, if anything, I wanted to talk less. Just when I'm good at planning. So if you set up like
brought
something,
you on here to talk, Grant. Absolutely no problem. I brought you on here to talk.
You just reminded me of something I was thinking about earlier, which is I wanted to apologize, which is I'm very good if like I plan for something. So like I didn't know Ida Lee was coming on, so I had to like adjust on the fly. But no, if anything, like I've been waiting for a chance to talk to Ida Lee forever. I didn't know it was going to happen like this. So that's why I've been enjoying listening.
I'm a single mom. You got to make magic happen when lightning strikes.
Exactly. I wanted to connect you two for months now. I think I wrote in one of your chats, Grant, like 4 months ago, that I'm in touch with
Ida Lee, and that's not her real name, but we're protecting her, and you two need to meet because she is a true warrior in her community, and you guys live like, close together. So you could literally meet for a coffee. I'm really trying my hardest to figure out when I can get up to your area, because there are so many of you that I respect, that I want to shake your hand. I want to meet you in person. I've grown as a person, as an advocate, as an activist, just knowing a lot of you. And I really do want to meet as many of you as I can in person one of these days. So I am working on that. My goal would be like the cherry blossom time, so that I can see you guys and go to Washington, D.C. and see the cherry blossom. So
you'll know because you'll know in your heart, you'll see some hearing, right, where it'll just be like, there's big hearings all the time, but there'll be some hearing that we don't even know about yet, where your heart will just be like, all right, I have to go to Boston. I am being called to go there. And then you'll be there for a reason. Something's coming to bring this to its natural conclusion.
Well,
we can talk all we want about the lack
Farwell
of
in a court hearing would be big. I would like to be there for that and stand outside.
He's never going to trial.
But I
I would love to see the day he goes to prison.
An arrest in Ellen Greenberg would get me to Pennsylvania. That would get me a little closer to you guys. I could make that trip and then head on up to Boston from there.
I think we'll see some movement there. And I do think we will see movement on the Sandra Birchmore case. If people want a reason for hope, it's that, because there's no amount of political will, there's no amount of connections, there's no amount of money that can save like that group of people from what they did to Sandra Birchmore, because it touches on more than Sandra. It touches on any desk that gets on. The person who reads it is going to be like, I'm disgusted, and something's going to be done. Okay, well, to get them, you need either Michael Proctor to cooperate, or Jen McCabe to cooperate, or whatever, or Tully to cooperate. That's what I think we're going to see. I don't know who was paying them, to get back to your final question.
I was just curious how of course, there was a lot of, speculation out there about the, couches being given to Kate Peters by Jen.
We don't even need to speculate. I saw Kate Peter get handed an envelope of cash in 2024 in a Chick-fil-A parking lot. She got it delivered from a white Toyota Corolla. That was Christy Citroni has the text message from like a McCabe or Albert family member saying they sent the money to Kate. It was like 400 or 500s, like maybe 300 to 400s, couple 50s, like a bunch of 20s. And Kate said they give it to me in cash, so there's no record of it.
Of course.
That was one payment, and it was like 1,000. And she didn't tell me it was a bribe. She was showing me what was on offer. And of course, me being the oblivious towel that I am, didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was just like, I don't like your vibe, woman. I didn't mean to call her a woman. I was just like, I don't like your damn vibe. Like, get the fuck out of here. Why are you counting money in front of me? I was so baffled.
Because she's a narcissist. She doesn't have any accountability for action. She's still on Twitter every day mouthing off.
She must have thought that everyone in the world thought like her. So if you flash cash, someone's going to be like, oh, that's what's on offer. Kate, how can I get some of that? Okay, have you never met a person that's just like, I'm not into that? Maybe she never had, but she met one with me. And then I Shrek walked her the other day. I went on that space with Lily Kangaroo and just took Kate for a walk. By the way, that's the key to it all. Kate Peter is the reason these people collapsed. No one would have ever. I just want everyone to know, even with all the people involved in this case, because Kate Peter is a moron, that is the only reason these people got exposed. Because Brian Tully and Kate Peter treated Lindsay so disrespectfully, and because Kate Peter is a moron, this all got exposed. If Kate Peter wasn't a moron and I was not intent on figuring out why this was all happening, I knew she was dumb. Okay,
it's more so I was like, most narcissistic people that end up getting taken down, like the big names, of course, that we've all heard and seen in our lives, and end up in jail and federal prison because they're narcissists and they don't believe anything's ever going to happen to them. They're so into themselves and into their actions and into their mission that they're untouchable in their own brains.
Yes, she illegally intercepted the call of an FBI agent who was trying to get information
Crazy.
about the Birchmore case.
Crazy.
Who would do? Okay.
God.
Okay. The FBI, listen, maybe the state police cannot like backwards, like figure out like who was on a call with them, like something, maybe that's, but like if the FBI finds out that you like tried to patch their call, not using surveillance tech, not being in the room with the person, but you try to patch the fucking call, they're gonna know. They're gonna be like, get off the phone.
Homegirl is wild.
And what about that document that you put up, the court document, and you said that it was forged? And I took
this is so fucked up.
And I took a close look at that. I didn't send it to you yet, but I was going to. I circled something for you. You can see the typewritten on the actual court document that you showed, the way that it's written, where it says the court in the middle. And then if you look at the forged one, it's moved over, indented to the left. So you can absolutely tell it was manipulated with it. It's a small catch, but if people really look at the document very closely and compare it to the other one, you can
so much worse. It's so much worse than you can imagine. So about 5 or whatever years ago, Kate, Peter, and Aiden Carney got in a fight. They used to work together, split apart, whatever. Right. All right. Kate and Aiden hate each other. Kate really hates Aiden. Aiden, I don't think thinks about Kate that much. I think Kate it's more of a one-way hatred, and Aiden's just like, this person is very obsessed. That's kind of the vibe they give each other. Kate's like, her whole life is Aiden. I think she dreams about Aiden. I think she wakes up in the morning and has like Aiden plates that she eats off of. I think she throws darts at his face during the evenings. I think she has like toilet paper with his face on. This woman's
She's got an Aiden voodoo doll.
I'm telling you, it's just her whole life is Aiden Carney. It's the craziest. For someone who doesn't like him, you'd think she would just not fucking think about him, but all she does is think about him. She's obsessed with him, and then she critiques other people for being obsessed with him when it's like, you are obsessed with him. Anyway, that part just, I don't understand the pathology.
It is a true obsession. There's no question about it. I've said many times, I've replied. Now, amazingly, she's never blocked me, because I never say anything really terrible about her posts. I just argue in a respectful way with her, debate with her. But I've said several times, this is not healthy. You need to talk to someone. I know she said on her lives before that she has gone to counseling, and I just like, keep going to counseling. This is not healthy what you're doing. But this was before I realized what you are telling us is that she was working behind the scenes. I thought it was just a very unhealthy obsession this whole way with Aiden and with their breakup of their relationship, working together, and that she was just so anti Karen Reed simply because it gained her clout and it gained her YouTube channel followers. I didn't know what we know now. I knew something was off and that it just never made sense. But I truly thought she needed to seek counseling for this grave obsession. But there's many people that are obsessed with this whole trial and with this whole case. They're walking a very, very fine line.
Yeah. But Kate misgendered her own child in front of me, and she was proud of it. She was like, she was like gonna like undo the child's decision to be a different gender. I was like, bro, why are you doing?
She was showing off her minimizing her child to you. That is,
I did. Terrifying. I did not like that. And she also lost her kids, never fought to get them back. Like, I don't want to go down that road though. I want to talk about the copyright dispute. So Aiden and Kate,
and I'll be right back. I can still hear you guys. I'm just gonna. I opened the door for the dogs, and I realized it's getting very cold in here. We've had this cold snap going on down here in Florida, and it's getting down to like 30 tonight. So I'm going to go close my door, but I'll still be able to hear you, and I'll be right back.
So the copyright dispute, you were right to point it out. In 2021 or so, Aiden and Kate had a copyright dispute. It wasn't real. Kate tried to strike Aiden's video without cause. This is something that's propped up again in recent days, as we know, with the forensic room and Roberta Glass. Kate tries to strike Aiden. Aiden challenges the strike. Kate has to, as part of that strike, submit proof to YouTube that she filed a civil lawsuit against Aiden. Well, you have to do that in federal court over copyright. So Kate filed a federal, quote unquote, a federal lawsuit against Aiden and submitted that document to YouTube. okay, here's the thing. Kate didn't file a federal lawsuit against Aiden. Not only was the document forged, the case number was real, but belonged to a case from like Larry Lessig from 2011, the Harvard professor, who I also know, by the way. Kate, like I just wanted to, yeah, Kate, I just want to tell you, I know Larry Lessig personally and have for like 10 years. I'm going to call him and tell him what you did. I haven't thought of that until right now, but I want you to know I know him. Okay. I'm going to call him and be like, you don't understand what this woman did. Okay. She forged a version of your case number so that she could file the false copyright claim. But it gets so much worse, because why did this even come up in the past few months? Brian Tully, in his infinite fucking wisdom, writes an affidavit in the Aiden Carney case in like November of 2025, where this man says, Brian Tully, who's a Brian Tully, that in a copyright dispute between Aiden and Kate, Brian Tully was not aware that Aiden submitted a forged document. Now, why is this relevant? Because if you read Mark Betterow's affidavit from like 3 weeks before, maybe 3 months before, with how long it takes Cosgrove to write documents, if you read that one, Betterow spends like 4 pages, which is actually only 2 pages because Betterow writes in 14-point century school book font with double space between the lines. Anyway, if you read, okay, I started styling my motions to be able to broadcast hearings in 14-point century school book font. No one stopped me yet, so I guess it's allowed. Anyway, the point is, it was only about 2 pages, but Betterow dedicates at least like 750 Betterow words to it. Betterow lays out that Kate, in detail, that Kate submitted the forged document. And then Betterow, which is the operative point for Tully, Betterow's like, by the way, this is within the 5-year statute of limitation for fraud. Kate doing that. It's a crime, and no one's investigated it. So Tully, lying in his affidavit, didn't just absolve Kate of having done that, submitted the forged document. Tully could then be like, oh yeah, I didn't investigate her because I thought it was Aiden. If Tully writes in that document, even at this point in time, that he's aware that Kate forged that document, he's basically saying, I know she committed a crime and I'm not going to charge her. So he lied. He was like,
I feel like he did that to put her on the spot, to put her on. Maybe he didn't. Maybe this is just my perception, but it's a way to keep her in check, Oh, look, I'm putting out this information into the public sphere, and maybe it's a little off, but you as the perpetrator of that know what's real and know that it's within the statute of limitations. So if you speak up, or if anybody else speaks up, then I still have plausible deniability, and if you cross me, I can hold you accountable.
Yes, but you have to see it in the context of, he didn't just say it. Tully was responding to Betterow's affidavit from a month earlier. Betterow made the allegation that Kate had submitted the forged document, and he made it for the purpose of saying Tully knew about Kate doing this because it was from 3 years ago, and Tully ignored Kate's credibility problems and just accepted information. You got to remember, Kate Peter sent 2 Dropbox links to Brian Tully that he played for the grand jury verbatim.
Well, they should have her handle all Norfolk County cases. These seem to be going quite effectively. What is it? Null pro se, whatever, all the cases.
Yeah. I get speechless with some of this stuff because.
But with Tully perjuring himself, I'm sorry, I went back in the replay. I know you're speechless. Yeah. Tully perjuring himself in that affidavit was not like a threat to Kate. It was Tully trying to say to Betterow, oh, you might be saying there was a forged document, but I don't know anything about that. Tully added in there to protect Kate. Oh, and by the way, it was Aiden who forged the document. And I, Brian Tully, don't know anything about that. Bullshit. Tully, it was Kate. You know about it, and that was intentional. And it wasn't intentional from Tully. A fucking lawyer helped him write that. I wasn't born yesterday.
Right.
I'm trying to see. I just decided to pull up Let's X and see if there's anything else that she's put up recently in the last like hour or two, but it looks like she's sticking to talking about Karen's interview. Oh, and we haven't even mentioned that tonight. That's the elephant in the room is the interview with Rotten Mango.
Great interview. You gotta if I listen, I cannot tell people enough. That was the first time. No one can correct me on this because I will declare myself the expert in what Karen Reed has said. I have listened to I have asked her 88 questions. She's never answered any of them. One time she glared at me. But the point is, I have listened to every word that woman has ever said, probably like 75 times. Not because I want to, but because it's just ubiquitous in my life. She never has said the name Sandra Birchmore until that interview. And the way she said it was not in passing, like, oh, and then after my case or during my case, I learned about Sandra Birchmore. No, she said in February through June of 2022, she knew about Sandra Birchmore, and she thought when Michael Proctor came in plain clothes to arrest her, that he was going to hang her from a door and be like, oh, well, Karen was sad. Boom.
That is the most valid thing, valid fear. And as somebody who's like obviously been involved with some of these LEOs, when I heard her say that, I know that fear. I know and other people I saw trying to placate it or dismiss it, well, they're law enforcement. Of course, they're going to come to the back door, this, and that. Well, these particular law enforcement, her fear is valid. Her her concern in that moment. She's a single woman home by herself.
And let's be real, Idly, that she was not a frickin' criminal, high FBI wanted, I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, their behavior with everything to do with her first arrest and then the second arrest. And of course, we all know why they did this the second set of charges, going after her the way they did. I mean, it's the whole thing's despicable. And I knew you would have good comment on this because you have been afraid of law enforcement.
Yeah.
And you want to know what's scary about the situation with Karen? And I mean, Ida Lee obviously is learning this counter intel, it's called operational security.
Yeah.
Karen was wrong. I don't even know if she understands this. And I'm not in the government. I've never been in the government. I don't speak for the government. I'm a towel. Karen does not understand they were not going to hang her from a door. But you know how they would have done her? They would have overdosed her on alcohol and barbiturates. Classic fucking profile for barbiturates and alcohol. And they would have killed her. Nobody would have known the difference. That's what she got wrong.
To Sandra Birchmore. They're capable. Okay, Matthew Farwell had help. Yeah. He didn't set that whole framing of Sandra Birchmore up by himself. He didn't get away with it by himself. People in
he didn't get away with it.
But that's the scary part. She thought, he didn't get away with it. But she thought they were going to come. Even Karen, who knew,
he's not convicted yet. Let's not forget.
He's gonna plea out, and then they'll charge other people. He will plea, and then
let me read this to you. While we're on the topic of the Rotten Mango, and you guys are conveying what you liked and didn't like, or basically liked a lot of that interview. Now, this is so petty from Masshole Mafia 8 hours ago. She writes, she should post a photo of this supposed rosary made from rose petals on the casket at a funeral she did not attend. Did she get them from the family she was court ordered to have no contact with? Just curious how that would work. Serious question.
God. Has this woman been ordered to have no contact with the O'Keefe yet? Somebody should.
It's not just that. Kate is charged with felony witness intimidation in Norfolk County.
Yes.
Okay. Related to Lauren Murray. So Kate is sanctimoniously. Kate, by the way, another thing. Kate told me religion is BS to my face. I, who wear the Virgin Mother every single day on my chest, she said to me, "Oh, yeah, all that religious BS. I don't really buy into that." I bet she never said that to Miss O'Keefe to her face.
I'm sure not. Or Jen McCabe or Carrie Roberts or any of the normal soccer moms that she's been playing detective with. But this is extra despicable because number one, we know why Karen couldn't attend the funeral. Number two, why was she court ordered to have no contact with him? That's despicable because she hadn't even, it's ridiculous. Like they didn't do an investigation. Like I was saying at the top.
It was a bail condition.
Anyone else. They never looked into anyone else. They immediately, as the famous quote from Alan Jackson, pinned it on the girl, and everyone's just supposed to be okay with that and buy that as a proper investigation. So this whole
you know what? My favorite line that I've heard in all this is, who cares? She's not from Canton anyways. As if, I guess we're all supposed to glaze over the abject failures of the law enforcement involved, because this woman is not from Canton and John was not from Canton.
Yeah.
The way my mother told it to me, like 2 years ago, and she was very blunt about it, was this was the quote, I think, verbatim. They only went so hard on her because John was the cop. So it was
Grant, keep going though. I'll get to this in a minute. Keep going.
Yeah, but I think it was just a conflagration of Karen not just not being from Canton, not being from their crew. Like, and I don't mean like the popular kids. I mean, Karen, I thought Karen was intel. They were intel and she was not in their crew. And that was the big deal. And then to compound it, you also had John being a cop. And I don't care what anybody wants to say about Massachusetts being a liberal state. See what happens if you take the life of a police officer. Yeah. They're going to fucking rail you. You're not getting out of it.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. That Karen is the only person in the history of Massachusetts that I'm aware of that even was in the orbit of a cop dying and got away with it. I'm not saying whether she did it or not. I'm saying in the orbit of it, like even within the story, within the timeline, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
So let's hear what little Miss Masshole Mafia has to say here, Grant. She says, I have to unburden myself and make a confession. Grant Smith Ellis was correct all along. I run an intricate web of clandestine Twitter trolls, all with one singular goal and express purpose: to drive Grant to the depths of psychosis until he ruins all of his familiar relationships.
No, I'm going to cut this off. No, yes. I don't want to hear. I want to respond to the first part.
Crazy. All, that's all they have up their sleeve is to call everybody crazy.
And it's not even that. I've only known Kate Peter since the winter of 2024. Kate Peter has been operating her Discord since she split off with Aiden in 2019. How do I know that? Jason Broyles was on her Discord in 2019.
Of course he was.
So when she says, you see that she's saying she wants to say her soul, if it's there, is like, oh, tell them you have this network of Twitter trolls and then hide it in a lie. The second part, she wants to come out and say, yes, it's true. She has that, what did you call it? That narcissistic personality. Yes, it's me. I've been pred hunting. I'm Kate Peter. I have this network. I deployed them. I'm so great. Jen McCabe thinks that I'm not a commoner. That's what she wants to scream. Kate, you're always going to be a fucking commoner. You're never going to be anything but a commoner. I'm sorry. Useful. I'm not even a fucking classist. You're a fucking useless commoner, okay? And I'm not saying that pejoratively. You do not play at this level. You don't get to play at this level. You watched me walk into the State House and open those fucking doors and set up that press conference and get Lindsay 175,000 views and get revenge porn banned. You watched me do it. You told people how you're astounded that I opened doors because you do not play on this level. You insult my intelligence by virtue of your very existence. You are not a towel.
Absolutely. And that goes for Jason Broyles, not Haley Walbrick.
Oh, he's a fucking informant. He is the most obvious fucking informant. He clearly got caught up. He had credit card trouble in Massachusetts. I don't fucking know if he got caught up looking at bad shit and then they found him on the Discord, predator hunted him and fucking flipped him like they did with Unnamed. You think Unnamed's fucking father knows how to use BitTorrent? I know what a fucking informant looks like. This fucking bullshit. I don't understand why these people let these dangerous fucking predators go on in the streets because they're fucking informants, and then they get fucking sheep dipped over to fucking play the role of a free Karen Reed or Turtle Boy supporter. This is bullshit.
Yes.
Listen, when somebody figures out, when somebody, then let me just tell you, I am not just somebody yelling. I have very, very, very wide readership, including among the fucking government, the people who audit the government and oversee the government. And when they actually figure out what these people did with these informants and how they played this, listen, I have seen people lose jobs over far less. I've seen entire regulatory agencies upended over far less. This is going to be a reckoning unlike Massachusetts politics has ever seen. And I don't even think the legislature really wanted to deal with this. I think they're just like, how did this become such a clusterfuck that we have to deal with this? Right. This is a problem.
Non-disclosure agreements. That's how.
And this is going on all over because the case I've been weaving in and out, I try to always weave some of my cases in and out when we have our chats because they have commonalities. Is the person that's missing here out of Marion County, Sarah Ebersol. I was helping her group of Sarah's soldiers advocate for her case that's just been cold now for almost 3 years, be 3 years in March. And there's no doubt in my mind that her former boyfriend, who's the father of her child, is an informant. He's a complete sack of lying SOB abuser, and yet the police will work with these kinds of people to get what they want out of them, and they don't give a shit if Sarah Ebersol ever gets found, if her body ever gets found. They don't give a shit that her daughter could be potentially being abused by this horrible psychotic human. And the government just lets it slide because, like Grant said earlier, round the clock we go. They don't fucking care.
The government aids in that stuff, especially if it's an informant. Actually, what I've seen occur in the family court is downright terrifying.
They just allowed him to declare
there's a woman that I'm friendly with where her ex made explicit video of their child, sent it to a court professional, and and the judge did nothing. The judge actually ordered the child's older sibling not be present for overnight visits anymore, I guess, because
disgusting.
They didn't want any more reports of it or something. She contacted the police up in New Hampshire where he is, and and he's one of the bad guys that's on the bill, so he is protected, and they're kind of throw their hands up and are like, what do you want us to do about it? And a lot of moms don't realize in that situation, oh, this guy is helping them, and they're wondering why their custody cases are being tampered with, or they can't get information about protecting their children. And their children are literally fed to the wolves for the interests of whatever law enforcement has procured that particular
the kids
dangerous individual.
The kids can become collateral damage, and Sarah's daughter is collateral damage, and Sarah's sister has a restraining order against her right now by this very vile person. A judge in Marion County allowed a restraining order because she was speaking out and trying to get the word out to help find her missing sister. And there have been numerous reports from DCF in 3 states that there's something going on with this child, and they ignore it. And I spoke to a DCF person, and they point blank told me they didn't have enough evidence to interview the child independently. Are you going to tell me that a 7-year-old child whose mother has been missing from her life now for 2 years with no explanation, who doesn't get to see any of her mother's family, who's basically being held hostage by her biological father, is going to talk to you in front of this man?
No,
What
not a
kind of a
chance.
rocket scientist do you people need to get involved in this? I mean, it's utterly despicable what is happening to this family here, right down the road from me, basically just an hour away from me. This is going on. So what's happening to all of you in Massachusetts is not happening in a silo. This is going on all around the country, case after case after case, including the Ellen Greenberg case, including this case with Sarah Ebersol, and several other cases that I've looked into here in Florida. There is corruption, there is informants being put above the actual welfare of a child.
Absolutely. I mean, even especially in this case, like with Sandra Birchmore, and just the nature of what that all is. So so the caliber of the informants is, you're sending out informants that are either grifting in the space of sexual assault victims or LARPing in the space of sexual assault victims, child sexual assault victims. And like from my personal experience, like that is terrifying. Like I don't know who is a safe person. I don't know. mm, yeah, it's really concerning how it's been applied here. I can understand with crime that's outside of like a school setting and children and things like that, but when it's applied in this way, it puts children not just at risk, like it's causing active harm to children.
It's because
And
they're commodities, and we're not ready to address that. Like we don't think of it that way because we are regular humans.
oh, the court
But like,
system certainly does. The family courts and things like that.
Of course, it's not just DCF, by the way, which I've seen some horrifying examples of DCF, like basically acting in that way. But I'm talking about, I think, and I don't believe this is conjecture, I think the Epstein case is the perfect example. There is a market for children.
Ugh,
None of us talk about it
gross.
because just to address it, to make it real, would like break all of us. Because what are we supposed to do if like there is a market for children and all we're seeing is the different tentacles of the octopus that sometimes squiggle up above the surface? Okay, then we're in a lot of trouble as a society, as a government, as these institutions of power, because it means that all of these people,
levels of it too. There's a market for animal abuse, and people can't bring themselves to picture it or think of it until these commercials come out and wake us up to what's going on when these rescue groups go out and scoop them all up, just like the rescue groups that go out and scoop up the girls from these hotels and these little makeshift brothels that these people set up that Matt Getz was part of, and he's still walking around in government in Washington. I mean, it's
and what do you think they're selling? They are selling videos. Okay, it's a commodity, not just a person. They sell the person clearly, or the animal, or the tusk, or whatever they're going to do, whatever horrifying, I don't know, whatever they're selling. They sell the organs, but they also sell videos. It is clear. I have looked at some of the police reports about this. They don't even talk about it a lot, but it's out there. There are groups on the dark web in particular, which is the non-index. So the 3% of the internet is indexed on Google, 3%. The other 97% is either unindexed or what's called on a .onion site. I don't even have Tor on my computer. To even get on the dark web, you have to route yourself through an onion network. That means you have to set up a VPN, basically, fake who you are just to get on this internet. It was actually invented by the government, of course, because we wanted the US government wanted to figure out a way to get Chinese dissidents access to Western internet. So their plan was, it's called an SSH tunnel. Think of this like really cool, like I think of it like an actual tunnel, but it's not like a tunnel. It's kind of like
virtual tunnel.
Yes, it's a network connection that routes from your computer around your internet, kind of, to another, what's called exit point or a node. You exit that node and your on the dark web as someone else. That's the general principle of onion routing. Okay.
Almost like a roundabout.
Yes. And what if the regular internet is an on-ramp, this is a roundabout. Now, what's really fucked up about this is, okay, the surface web, as it's called, the regular internet, it's not really like trackable if you put any effort into it, but on the whole, by default, you're going to be tracked. It's going to be very easy to follow your cookies. It's going to be very easy to follow your IP, your MAC address, your session tokens. Everything you do is going to be tracked. Onion routing is different. When you are on the dark web, you can buy like hitmen, you can buy narcotics, you can buy people, you can buy videos of very bad things. This is what is enabling it. Right. This market has always existed, but now it is flourishing. These things are commodities. We think about them from the moral perspective of crime because we are normal people. Right. What we're talking about is a commodities market. And we're seeing the side effect of that commodities market in the crime.
Well, when you put it like that, it's terrifying.
It is. And it's like a spider web. It's all over the world. It's not just here in the United States, obviously. It's all over the world. And it's all based off of money and power and elitism. And it makes you have a hard time, like, hoping that it can be eradicated. Like, it's like if your house has been taken over by termites and you literally don't know which way to turn, and you've tried everything, you don't know what else to do, and then eventually your house gets tented and you have to move out of your house. But this is far worse than that, because how do we eradicate these cockroaches, these termites? They're so protected by money and power.
This is what federal prosecutors do every day.
Right.
They sit there and they have to decide what's the worst of the worst. And you pick your shots.
Yep.
So, like, that's what real power is. Real power is not like that. Those evil people look at fame as a degraded form of power. I look at what they have as a degraded form of power. Go ahead, motherfuckers, with no money and change a law. You can't.
Nope, you can't. Because I've worked with advocacy. I've worked with social workers. We've tried to change laws that had to do with domestic violence in different states that don't protect women, and the courts give the children to the fathers. And it's just not always the fathers, but in most cases it's 89% man on woman domestic violence. So it is the fathers in most cases, and it's almost impossible to advocate for laws. You can advocate for laws, but to change a law, it's nearly impossible. And even those that do the good work in Congress and Senate, the good ones that aren't bought off by political action groups and that aren't bought off by their parties, that actually do the good work for the people, they can't even get laws passed. Laws go through, I don't think a lot of people understand how many committees and committee after committee after committee that these laws go through. And in the simplest form, back in the day, the Electric Company, which was a show that my sister watched when she was a child in 1970s, they did that wonderful cartoon about what is a bill. Okay. And that it's in its simplest form, but go and find it, look it up on YouTube, because where
Schoolhouse Rock, right?
The Senate is where committee is where bills go to die. So yes, School of Rock. Thank you. That's it. And I think the Electric Company played it or had it on. I think they combined with them at one point, and they were doing a lot of education for children in very cute, very easy ways for children to understand. And but committee is where the bills go to die. And so a senator, let's say a really good senator like Tammy, what is her last name? Duckworth.
Duckworth,
like
yep.
Sammy Duckworth, or I mean, I could name a lot of great senators and congressmen, and they spend countless hours just researching to even write the bill, to even write the Senate or the Assembly bill. And then it has to go through all these committees. And then it has to obviously go through the House, and then it has to go through the Senate. And people don't understand how long that takes, but the work that went into drafting these bills, and then they add things into the bills. So the bill has this main structure of what the main purpose of the bill is. But then as it goes through these committees, both sides try to add things to get things attached to the bill. Like think of a sea urchin that, that lives in the sea and everything gets attached to it. And then that's what kills a lot of these bills, because it's not the original component of the bill. It's all these attachments that get put on that both parties can't agree on. So then the main bill that everybody agreed on never goes anywhere. And this is the frustration of government. And we're paying these people to be in government forever and ever. They have no limits on how long they can serve. And not all of them are doing that great of a job.
But I'll tell you, the easiest way to get a bill passed, I do it all the time, just don't take credit. Like if you want to get something done, just give someone else the credit. So when I've passed, I cannot tell you how many of my words are in the statute books, but do you see me out there being like, that's my fucking law? No, but I promise you, when that bill, first of all, I know when the legislative session starts. I know when the file deadline is. I know when the late file deadline is. I know what committee it's going to first. I know what committee it's going to get discharged to. I know when it's going to the floor in the House. I know when it's going over to the Senate. I know if they're going to change my fucking bill. I know if it's going to compromise committee. I know who's on the fucking compromise committee. I'm going to talk to them and yell about them. Don't touch my fucking bill. And then I'm going to just go away quietly, and I'm not going to take any credit. Get the fucking bill passed. Get the job done. Leave. What's next?
Can we make an internet song about you passing a bill? Can I get my friend who's very wise on this, that we love dearly, help me make an internet song about you, Grant?
I tried to first. That's adorable, but I tried to explain to people they don't want to see me coming. Like they are on Beacon Hill. They are very pleased if I am just yelling at the Cannabis Control Commission. Just let him yell at the Cannabis Control Commission. He won't bother us. When they all realized I was getting involved in Norfolk County, I think they were like, oh, God help them. They're all fucked. Thank God he's not bothering us anymore. You don't understand. The Cannabis Commission was thrilled. They were like, oh, my God, he's going to pay attention to something else. Thank God. It has been 6 fucking years. You don't understand.
See, I appreciate your advocacy for things that, predominantly impact women. I had been contacting a lot of my elected officials about the coercive control legislation that, that had been tied to a couple iterations. And I'm the world's most obnoxious constituent, and I was up everybody's butt about it. And to see a white privileged male get up there and say, hey, I'm standing here for women and as an ally, and this is truly unacceptable. That means a lot to women, because a lot of times people are so scared to step out of their own comfort if it doesn't serve them in any way. And even if it hypothetically serves them in the long run, I don't want a groomer running my after school program. They're still too scared to get up and say that and push back in an appreciable way. So I did appreciate, your advocacy around that a lot.
Well, thank you. And I'll tell you, the one thing that I don't know if people understand is I'm glad I got to help with that revenge porn and coercive control bill, but that was not me. A lot of people put a lot of work into that. What I did is a microcosm of what I do in every situation. I heard the Senate was going to vote. So at 5 a.m, I sent out 30 press releases being like, hey, media colleagues, you should come to the State House. There's going to be a press conference. There was no fucking press conference. I was just going to have people start talking. So you just whip up a little fervor. You just whip up a little fervor. Okay, now people think there's a press conference. Okay, now the Senate president has to come in and oversee the vote because people think this is very fucking important. Oh no, we better get a compromise committee assigned right away on this. Okay, we should redline this like now. Okay, we can't vote against this or we're going to look like we're voting against revenge porn being banned. Everybody's watching. Oh no, we're like one of like 2 states that hasn't banned this. The Associated Press is starting to write about this. That's how you do it. You just have, and then
exactly
it's flash in the pan. Like they don't need, nothing is covered for 4 months. Like get there, make it an issue, make it very clear what you're trying to accomplish. Don't bullshit, move on. That's what they want. Like that's how you get a law passed. Like they don't want the minutia. They don't want to deal with anything unless they have to, because they have other business to attend to. And if you are going to ask them to do something, for the love of God, at least be procedurally efficient in what you're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, they're just going to be like, go away.
It's very true. So this is a little caveat on the side. My very first job, when I was a senior in high school, I had enough credits to graduate early, but I was involved in sports, so I didn't want to graduate early, but I didn't have to be in school in the afternoon. So I did this work study program through my high school, and I just serendipitously ended up getting a job working for the state of Wisconsin, where my mother worked, in the same building that my mother worked in, but she was with the Department of Justice, and I got put in a student role with the Department of Development. And I knew nothing about what the Department of Development did. I was literally 18 years old, about to graduate high school, already enrolled at UW-Madison for the fall. So I thought I was just going to be brought in to do a secretarial job because I was good at typing, and I had taken many typing classes in high school. And I had no idea what my role was going to be. Well, as it turned out, the longer I was there, they ended up putting me in charge of deciphering the handwriting of all of the, I forgot what their title was back then, but they actually took all the notes from the congressmen and the senators that worked on bills, the handwritten notes. This is back in 1981. And then they wrote the bills. These were aides that wrote the bills for the senators and congressmen off of all their. And then they gave me their handwritten bills. They weren't even typed. They were handwritten. There were 6 of them. And my job was to sit there every day and decipher the handwriting of these 6 aides and then type up the bills, these Senate bills and Assembly bills, and then walk them over with carbon copies to the governor's secretary.
What happens if you got a word wrong? Like, say in their handwritten version, it was like, we shall appropriate $47 million. And you were like, well, that's a 9. So it's like $97 million.
Exactly. I'll never forget one of the guys.
Scrivener's error.
He was so nice and kind. His name was John. And I really liked John. He was just a normal guy. He was a normal guy. He was a soccer dad, and he had kids, and he was a cool guy. But he was very quiet. He was very unassuming. He was kind of an introvert. And I, even already at 18, believe it or not, I'm me. I'm who I am now. I was very outgoing, very talkative, very chatty, very interested, always asking a million questions about the bills. Like, well, why are they doing this? And how come that? And they're like, Catherine, you're here to type these bills. You're not here to decipher them and debate them. But I was always asking all these questions to these aides. And he was the kindest person, but he had the worst handwriting. So of all of the 6 aides, his handwriting was by far the worst. And I always had to go back to his cubicle and say, John, I'm sorry. What is this word? Because of what Grant said, I didn't want to fuck it up. I'm taking these bills to the governor, to be put into the Assembly and the Senate. So that is just how it was. Just, like I said, very serendipitous, because my mother was working for the Department of Justice as a paralegal investigator, and I had already wanted to become a cop when I was a little kid, and was interested in government. My grandmother was very active in government in Madison, so it was just sort of serendipitous assignment that just out of all the assignments I could have been given as a student worker my last semester of high school in the summer before college, I end up working in the Department of Development. And I learned so much about what happens to these bills and where they started from. Now, of course, it's all streamlined and everything's done on tablets and computers. But no. I've never told that story on my channel before, because there was really never any segue into it, but it seemed appropriate.
So. I love that story. And you'd be surprised. It is not all as easy as you'd think. In Massachusetts, we don't take roll calls for committee votes on anything. They just announce afterwards the total. And then I'll also say one hint. I'm sure you learned, Kat, as you were working in that environment. You ever want to get a legislative staffer to take you seriously? Eda Lee, this might be useful for you. Call them and say, so I saw on the orders of the day today that bill number X whatever is up for consideration. And I noticed that the senator's office, who I'm calling, has proposed an amendment. I have concerns. Oh, that'll get their attention. If they think you're watching the orders of the day, they're, oh, goodness, this person is going to yell at us.
That's a good one.
Noted.
Grant. Yeah, My Heart's Truth 417. Thank you for sharing everything tonight, Grant. Thank you for being here tonight, My Heart's Truth. It's nice to have you with us. Appreciate you. Well, I would love to get together with you guys again whenever you both have time. I am retired. I am a retired towel. I am a retired justice seeker. But this case with Sarah Ebersol, Grant, I know you're so busy, but I actually, now that we're talking about bills, I want to write a bill called Sarah's Bill. And I want it to have some type of wording that has to do with protection for children of a homicide victim who the main suspect is the biological father and has custody of the child and is an informant. And there's so much to it, but I want to come up with some type of a bill that protects children when their mother has been unalived. And I don't know how that looks or what it would involve, but I might have to bend your ear on that at some point.
Yes, I'm learning about it right now. So I've only heard about the case from you, obviously. I have not seen a lot of coverage in New England, which is to be expected.
Yes. And the hashtag, by the way, everybody, is where is Sarah Ebersol? It's SARAEBERSOLE. Where is Sarah Ebersol? And I have done many live streams about her. If you go in my library, you can watch them at your leisure. And if you want to help out in any way on your social medias to continue to keep her name out there, I would really appreciate it. Her sister, Michelle, would appreciate it. It's a very convoluted, messed up case. And I mean, she literally disappeared into thin air. I mean, you could make a movie about it. And after many of us made phone calls and emails to Nancy Grace did do an episode on Sarah Ebersol. As you all know, when you watch like the Lifetime movie of Karen, or you watch any of the other docuseries that have been done, they're somewhat frustrating, because those of us who have followed this case from the get-go and watch both trials and pay attention to all the social media, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, we know the case so well that a lot of these things just don't hit home for us. Like, they're just not satisfying, right? So as much as I respect Nancy Grace, it wasn't satisfying for me, because I know this case inside and out, thanks to Michelle, her sister. And I have my own feelings on it. I've actually met with the detectives at the Marion County. I've had phone conversations with the detectives and the lieutenant and voiced my concerns. I've talked to DCF here in Florida. I've spent a lot of time on this case. So I would just want people to know about Sarah. It's mostly just this small little area in Florida, in Volusia County and Marion County, that know about her. But thanks to Nancy Grace, it did get some national recognition. But I think a lot of people are just, Nancy Grace, let's watch her episode. Okay, it's out of my mind, because there's so much crime and there's so many people unalived every day in this country. And especially in domestic violence, there's 3 women killed a day in domestic violence cases. So Sarah's case is just not getting the attention that I really truly believe it deserves, because there's so much nefarious activity going on with the Marion County sheriffs and with this whole situation with the biological father of Sarah's child. And it's just a travesty that she literally disappeared into thin air, and they have never been able to find her. But yet, her phone was pinging with a person of interest who won't cooperate with authorities, because I truly believe he's being threatened by the father of Sarah's child. And so his phone pinged with her last at 4 a.m. near a gas station about an hour from where I live. And that was it. And then she completely disappeared.
And then he lied about it.
And he lied about it. He said that he lost his phone And then it was eventually found out that he didn't lose his phone. So then he was arrested for lying to the police. He served 6-month probation for that, but nothing else. He's still considered a person of interest. The biological father who threatened her many, many times and who has all these DCF complaints against him and who has other nefarious activity in his criminal record prior to even knowing Sarah has never been considered a suspect.
You know what it sounds like? The Adelson case, the not the drivers, the
right.
guy who was dating Katie Magbanua, not Charlie who paid
right.
Katie, but the baby daddy.
The baby daddy, yes.
Yeah. Dude is like not doing a long bid. I don't want to talk more about it because I don't want to fuck with the Latin Kings. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. In my opinion, I don't want to get involved.
They're point very is individuals because they will just literally unalive someone and think nothing of it. Your life absolutely mattered zero to a lot of these people. Just like in this case with the Adelsons, Dan Markle's life mattered zero to these people. Zero.
And so to look at to compare this, I don't know any of the factual record. I know very little about the case, but I want to learn more. I'm immediately interested because it seems like a very similar situation. I don't know if his name was Tuco. I didn't keep track of every hitman's name in the Adelson case because it was crazy.
It's crazy.
The coordinator, not the driver of the hit, not the person who did the hit on Dan Markel, the coordinator was Tuco or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
That dude never went down the way the other people went down, ever. And I don't mean like Katie Magbanua style, like cooperating with Georgia Kappelman, like openly. I mean, that dude was just nowhere to be found. Like he did his 8-year bid. Sigfredo.
MCAT's on it. Yeah. Thank you, MCAT.
Sigfredo Garcia.
Hey guys, I'm going to have to hop off here for bedtime, but thanks for having me on tonight.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you for coming on with such short notice, but we'll give you better notice next time. Sorry, my son just got
and of course, every time we try to
notice next time, we have a lot more things we can discuss and have this great conversation with and with our live audience tonight too. Thank you too. Thank you, Ida. I'll be in touch.
It was great to meet you, Ida.
All right, guys.
This way.
It was great meeting you, Graham. Have a good night, guys.
Keep being safe, Ida.
But yes, so Kat, I want to touch on all these cases. Please make a list of them. I want to talk about them with Ida Lee. I'm sure she wants to learn about them, but you're onto something here, I'm sure. There's no doubt in my mind Sigfredo cooperated. And if you do sometimes cooperate, if there's no one else to charge because you're cooperating on something else, what are they going to do? So I don't know what you're onto, but I'm sure 3 years from now, I'll be like, well, you were right. So I'm going to remember this.
My dogs are barking because my son just got home, so it's probably a perfect crescendo to sign off. Grant, as usual, you're an amazing person. I'm so lucky and privileged to know you. Can't wait to meet you in person and shake your hand someday. And thanks for everything that you shared tonight. Thanks for the great conversation, the answers to all my questions, the answers to the questions of the live. Thank you, Replay, for joining me tonight. I really appreciate all of you. And let's keep advocating. Let's keep seeking justice. We have to do it. We have to be a community together. That's the only way we can call out corruption. So I will let you all know when we'll be back again on Friday Night Lives. And I look forward to collaborating with you again soon, Grant.
Bye. See you all. It was great to be with you. Thank you so much, Kat.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thank you. We went long, of course, because we always do when we have a guest. I didn't expect to go this long, but I'm glad we did. I hope that you got some answers to your questions. I hope you were informed, educated. That's the goal of Social Change Warriors, is to educate, inform, share commonalities, talk about the questions we have about the cases that we cover, trying to get this advocacy and justice for the families of the unalived. So I will be back again soon. I'll let you know on my social media when we'll have another live stream, and looking forward to doing more collaborating with Grant and Ida Lee and others as they come my way. So take care, everyone. Enjoy your weekend of football if you're football fans, and I'll be back soon. And remember,
for all of those that have been unalived by the hands of someone else. My life mattered.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm, calling out corruption. We'll stand tall for justice and truth.